Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse. This is your annual episode for 2021. This is the episode where we pick our favorite and discuss our favorites of the year and ultimately have to somehow agree upon a top 10 books of the year between the three of us. This is the 6th episode of this nature I think we've done.
Sure.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. Yeah, 6th. This is the 6th one. There you go.
It's 5 too many.
But a quick math. And the format, I think, has mostly stayed the same. I'm sure it evolved a little bit at some point, but this is definitely the same as last year. So
it's only stayed the same because you just go and check what it was last year and then do that again.
Yeah, but it's also a format that does work, I believe. Instead of us each coming up with our own top 10, us agreeing, A, is a lot less work, and B, more cohesive.
It's also a
Definitely agree
debate.
it's less work.
We have to debate as well and like sort of fight for, which is, great when Connor is weird and doesn't like good things and we have to like put him in his place. Yeah. Like, that's delightful. Also, stay tuned at the very, very end of the show, right before we hit the music. I've got some exclusive clips of Connor sounding high-pitched because his mic wasn't working properly.
Were you recording that whole time?
Not all of it, but I got some of it.
You think he was asking you to say things just out of kindness of heart?
He was trying to bait me into talk.
Do you think I would ask you what you thought of Boba Fett under any circumstances other than I just need you to talk for a minute?
I thought you just wanted to hear it. Just wanted to laugh for yourself.
No, it was for the audience so they could laugh at it. If for some reason this is your first ever episode of Comics from the Multiverse, I am Peter, and I'm joined by Matt.
Hey, what's up? Happy New Year.
And Connor's here too.
Yep.
So,
normal.
Full disclosure, we are recording this before the final week of books episode of the year, which we'll be doing later this week, because this is just where we could fit it in. So, if anything monumentally amazing is out on this final week of the year, apologies to that book.
Which, let's be honest, if it's anything, it'll be the Lemire Mankey Swamp Thing.
Yes, that's the one that's probably the candidate, but at least for the sake of like picking best series, though, we tend to discount things that have only had one issue, and most of it's going to happen next year. We always sort of do that,
right? Just
because it's hard to judge it on one issue versus everything else. So, at the very least, it still kind of tracks with how we think about this anyway. So yeah, that is that's plan. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a recap of some things that happened this year. And then we're going to sit and throw out nominations for Best Artist, and then we'll each pick our Artist of the Year individually. We'll do the same with the writer. We'll just nominate names to talk about and discuss some of the better writers at DC this year, and then we'll each pick our own favourite writer of the year. We'll maybe discuss some of the bad things, some disappointments of the year. I don't have much for this year, shockingly, although I did just start reading some stuff, but I have not read any non-DC stuff this year until this past week. So I'll prepare for that, but I'm sure these two have got a few things they'd like to give a shout out to from other...
I've read quite a lot.
Well, Matt's so not, but...
It'll be mostly me shouting out recommendations, apparently.
Well, Connor's going to recommend some books. I've read the whole first arc of Thompson's Black Widow now, though, so I'm getting there.
Ooh.
Oh, that's good.
Good on you.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've read the first issue of the second arc now, actually. But, yes. But no, I'm enjoying it, yeah. But I'll be on hold for a couple of days, because it's we're doing the regular episode in a couple of days' time, so I need to read DC books now. But, yeah. And then, of course, the main event of the show is where we have to form a top 10, where it's not each of us have our own top 10. At the end of every episode, we have our own top 5 of the week. That's not what we're doing here today. Every year at this time, it's the time for us to actually have to debate and work out our group top 10, the show top 10 of the year, and argue our case for each other, because we're not all going to agree necessarily. Connor has terrible taste, for example, so that is the plan.
I'm also the only one who apparently read anything other than DC, so I objectively have the most varied taste.
I did read the first 2 trades of Once and Future, but those aren't recent.
That's not this year.
Yeah.
So that's a fair point. It's a fair point, Matt.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's the plan now. So this is annual number 6. Here we go. Let's dive right in. So what I'm going to do is give you kind of just like some stuff that ended this year, some stuff that started this year. I will say, comparing it to last year, because I had my document from last year which I kind of like used as a template, is last year had so much big news like we had to bring up and talk about again at the end of the year. Didio left, the lockdown like caused all the stoppage for like 2 months. There was like mass layoffs at one point.
DC started distributing their own comics.
Yeah, like there was so many big like just like seismic changes at DC Comics last year. This year, not really. It was just you know work was
They
fun.
published some comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes it's good to be quiet, right?
Honestly, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just it was funny. I was like, oh wait, is there any stories that I have to bring up this year? And I did a quick Google, and unfortunately, typing into Google, you know, top or biggest DC Comics news of the year, it was all just like stuff from fandom about trailers and shit like that, and there was nothing coming up. So I'm like, yeah, I don't remember anything huge happening this year from a publishing perspective. Or
I mean, they signed Tom Taylor to an exclusive contract.
there you go. Yeah, I suppose that's the big news of the year. They put a ring on Tom's finger. Happy days.
Temporarily.
Happy days. For I imagine for at least 3 years would be my guess.
Usually 3 or 5 years.
Yeah. So I'll start off by telling you some stuff that ended this year. It's a shorter list of the two. So again, this isn't necessarily everything, but it's the stuff that stuck out as being worth mentioning. Yeah. So ending this year, Dark Knight's Death Metal ended. Believe it or not, this ended on the 5th of January. So this is going way back to the start of the year, but it technically did end in 2021. Deceased Dead Planet, similar idea. The last issue came out in January. So the Dead Planet saga, the Deceased saga as we know it, wrapped up in January, but that doesn't mean it's over forever. We'll see. Morrison's Green Lantern wrapped up in March.
That was going?
That was still going?
Shut up.
Similar vibe, Far Sector wrapped up in June after going for a long time because I had a lot of delays. So
I gotta finish that.
Yeah.
Sure, good.
Rorschach ended in September. Strange Adventures ended in October. So 2 big Tom King books, which we're very acclaimed. I'm sure we're going to be talking about them a lot later on. Tynan's run on Batman, of course, ended just recently in November. And then just last week, Ram V's run on Catwoman came to a close. I don't have specific months for these, but Batman Superman ended. The Other History of the DC Universe finally started coming out prior to the start of the year, but ended this year. And I didn't bother checking when this was, but I'm pretty sure Legion of Superheroes by Bendis came to a close this year as well.
A merciful end.
Yeah. And of course we know of the end of his Justice League, but that's not quite making this year. That's like February. That's wrapping up. So
another thing that ended this year was my interest in Bendis.
It's sadly kind of true. Yeah, Bendis kind of lost me in 2021.
It's just ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I mean, I still like a lot of the things that I liked about Bendis before. It's not like Bendis' past work is suddenly toxic.
No.
It's just
no. It has
good.
Everything to do with. I feel like he doesn't have quite the handle on certain DC characters like he did at the other company. So when you're closer to it, like his Superman, I feel was fine. But his Justice League, well, more on that later. That said, Naomi season 2 is coming out in 2022.
That's true.
So that could reinvigorate. That could be great.
So, I mean, season 1 of Naomi was the best thing he's done at DC so far, I think. So I'm pleased to give that a shot.
It's quite funny that one of Matt's complaints during Justice League was everything's Naomi, and then Naomi season 2 is the one thing he's actually excited for.
Yeah, because it's her book and she gets her story. You're not wedging her in to Justice League unnecessarily, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, not a lot of big endings this year. I mean, maybe I'm missing some huge things. But
we had the start and end of the entire Future State.
Well, yes, but anything that started this year, I didn't put in this list. They're in the starting list. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a very particular distinction.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, the end of Rick Grayson. That was the year, right?
Yeah, praise be, yeah.
Thankfully. So,
I mean, that's just used to behold and cherish of all things.
The end of Jason Todd being a joke, I feel, was cemented in 2021.
2021, the year that we all kind of started to maybe consider liking Jason Todd.
Yeah.
I don't know if I go quite that far.
Well, so look, I'm reading, Connor again with his weird taste.
Wait,
Task
actually,
Force Z. He's not terrible in that book.
no.
He's not the sole reason I'm reading it, right? But I'm not annoyed that I have to read it. It's not like when I was reading Red Hood and the Outlaws way back when, being like, ugh, why is Jason? That's just it. Why is Jason? And it's not like that. He's actually they have found a niche for him where he works really well, and it's not just as DC's Punisher, right? He is actually a complex and layered character in the right hands.
Yeah. So in terms of starting, obviously this is a bigger list. It's not everything. This is not completely comprehensive. But notable things that stuck out to me. Obviously, January, February, Future State, right? There you go. All of that. That happened in January, February. Which of course led to the Infinite Frontier stuff. And I'm talking about the line of books really from March onwards, but of course the Infinite Frontier book itself, and Justice League Incarnate later in the year, like all that stuff, right? All kind of going. But in terms of notable books and runs, Philip Kennedy Johnson, primarily on Action Comics, obviously did a couple other things, but like it's becoming the Action Comics run that just happens to have a few other things at the start.
Yeah, because he had that 2-parter with Superman in Action, and then he had that short. What was it? Maybe 3-4 issues on Superman.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
I think there's a total of maybe 4 issues on Superman.
Yeah.
Plus the Future State 2 issues.
Yeah, right. But I think by the end of this, we're probably going to refer to it as an Action Comics run.
Action. Yeah.
I think people already are.
Yeah. So, so that's really neat. Obviously, that's been a big deal for us this year. I believe it or not, Swamp Thing by Ram V also just started. I mean, technically it was Future State, but obviously the ongoing itself afterwards as well. So, very neat.
Do we have like Ram V Future State every month of the year? Every month then? Because we had 10 issues, right?
You mean Ram V Swamp Thing?
Did I say Future State?
You said Future State.
You did. That's why I got confused.
Yes, I meant Swamp Thing.
There definitely wasn't a full year of Future State. I think
I think so, but there was that off month, right? Like there was where it didn't come out.
Did we have 2 issues in a month at some point then?
I don't remember.
Because there's definitely been 12 issues, hasn't there?
If you
include the Future State.
Yeah. No, I think you may be right. You may not have skipped a month. Yeah.
Right.
So that's neat. That's been there all year. That Man Bat mini started in February. March, of course, has a ton of new things because that was the big launch after Future State ended. So March was the month. I actually can't believe it. It didn't feel this long ago, but that was the month that Tom Taylor's Nightwing started. So we had that. Yeah, I know, all the way back in March. As was Mariko Tamaki's Detective Comics. And yeah, she did obviously work in a book in Future State, which was kind of the detective book, but the actual Detective Comics one started in March. Joker by Tyrion the Fourth started in March, as did Batman Urban Legends, so that was them experimenting with a new format, which is interesting. Wonder Woman by Cloonan and Conrad started in March, as did The Flash by Jeremy Adams, and funnily enough, Justice League by Bendis started in March. So that's not even really. I mean, obviously, it's like one of the few books that's been double shipping, so it's had a lot of issues compared to everything else, but it's not actually been going that long, relatively speaking.
You really see they did actually kickstart a fair bit with the Infinite Frontier line. Then it doesn't necessarily feel like a lot, but looking at this,
I mean, it was a big creator change for sure from where we were. So a lot
just
of
not a lot of number ones, I think, is what throws you off.
Yeah,
and I can tell you a little bit into April because that's when Jeffrey Thorne's Green Lantern hit, as well as Robin by Joshua Williamson. Also starting that month was Tom Taylor's Batman the Detective, which definitely shows there were some delays on that because it only just finished with issue 6 last month. But so that was April. May brought us Wonder Girl by Joel Jones, obviously spinning out of the Future State books from at the start of the year. Stargirl had a spring break special, if you remembered that, in May.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Seven Soldier stuff.
Yeah, didn't that tease a full book afterwards?
It teased something. It definitely teased there was going to be more in some capacity. What's notable, I think, is that not counting maybe a short in one of the anthology books, this is like the only Johns book of the year.
Isn't it like the most Johns thing ever to tease something at the end of a book and then it just not happen?
Yeah.
He's becoming quite the Guillermo del Toro of the comic book world. So yeah, I thought that was worth mentioning. And then June brought some interesting stuff because that was the start of Nice House on the Lake. big deal. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow was also June. Checkmate was June. Matt endured all that, so congratulations.
At least I had Malieve art. At least I had Malieve art.
Crushing Lobo was June, which I don't think, did I ever try that?
I didn't.
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
I tend to steer clear of Lobo, but given my history of Jason Todd, maybe I need to start steering into Lobo.
Also in June, Green Arrow got the 80th anniversary special treatment. So that was the first of those we really had this year. July brought us Superman the Authority along with Blue and Gold. But perhaps the biggest deal of July was the launch of Superman Son of Kal-El, another Tom Taylor regular ongoing comic. So good things in summer. August then brought us Suicide Squad Get Joker, which I had to mention because even though I didn't read past issue one was hilarious for all the wrong reasons.
That shit.
That also launched Superman 78 and Batman 89 that month. So, well, that was nothing we stuck with. It obviously is selling quite well, and people were excited for it.
I do plan on getting Superman in trade just to read it all in one go. Because I do quite enjoy Venditti. I just didn't want to wait it out month to month. So.
Yeah. And then we had another 80th anniversary special. Aquaman got the treatment in August, which actually led into some of the September stuff. Because we got a pair of minis. We got Black Manta and Aquaman the Becoming.
Which we promptly dropped.
I mean, neither of them were terrible. Just neither of them were that exciting either. They were just kind of.
The problem is they started dropping those books on busy weeks, and it's like I would love to read these. I don't have the time.
If you'd known that those were essential, because like they're leading into stuff, right?
Yeah.
Would you have stuck with them if they're like, these are just okay, but they're going to be important because of other books? Would you have stuck with them?
No, because again, it's a timing thing. It was I'll keep reading something, if I have the time. But when they're putting out on weeks where there's 8 other books, those get lower priority just because I can always catch up. Like I'm planning on Flash now.
Yeah.
That cover the issue this week with Eclipso, you got me right. So,
I'm not gonna lie, Matt. When I told you about that issue where Eclipse showed up, I think I saw your eyes light up just in a way that said, "Oh,
it was." And then I forgot about it, and then I saw on when we recorded what was coming out this week, and I was like, "I gotta get caught up. I don't have time." So I will.
Yeah, it's always the case. So that was September, along with Deathstroke Inc. also started in September. Joshua Williamson's stranglehold on various corners of the DCU. Taking its toll. October brought us a bunch of stuff, actually. October had probably the biggest launch month outside of March, which is we had Arkham City, Order of the New World. Wonder Woman got the 8th anniversary treatment, which was a little bit annoying because she'd already had it for $7.50, so it was kind of like double dipping with her, but, is what it is. Batman the Imposter started in October, as did Catwoman Lonely City, so a couple of big Black Label books, which were heavily praised. And then it felt like, and I could have included Arkham City in this as well, honestly, but there was kind of like a whole host of horror related things. Hill House was back with a book with Refrigerator Full of Heads, along with a long Halloween special, which did tease more to come, so probably next October, I think. DC versus Vampires and Task Force Z both started as well in October, so a lot of horror or horror related themes and ideas kicking off.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's fun. And then November brought us Dark Knights of Steel, our newest Tom Taylor Elseworlds story. The Human Target, our newest Tom King big prestige miniseries. And also Robin and Batman, a Black Label book from Jeff Lemire, which has been pretty great so far. Wonder Woman Historia also started in November. So November, I'd say November arguably has an even stronger launch month, and it's a bunch of prestige things all starting.
And that Historia was announced like 4 years ago, so that was a long time coming.
I do appreciate too, like Black Label really finding its legs this year. It feels like, with these prestige, or it's how we're getting Lemire books at DC, right? Yeah. So.
No, not every single one is for me, but it's definitely got a lot of things, and a lot of them are some of my favorite books. So
I will say it's still a little bit disappointing at the overwhelming majority of them being Bat related.
Yeah. But
I guess people keep buying them, so why are they not going
Right.
to keep making
They're
them?
going to keep doing it. But
And
we
I
get
say
a
that
cool.
we all buy them and we enjoy a lot of them, even the bad
Yeah.
ones.
But like that's how we're getting that Lemire Swamp Thing too. So,
what's funny though is that I mean, obviously, part of this is that DC probably are happy to encourage everyone to want to read Batman because Batman sells, but there's also like the idea that every creator seems to have a couple of great bat stories in them.
Mhm.
Like they all have an idea for a bat story.
Right.
It's kind of shocking just how versatile that character is as far as how many writers can just tackle him and make him work.
Part of that is because Batman is one of the 2 or 3 biggest characters in all of history.
Yeah.
And that every creator has thought about what they would do with Batman at some point. And if they say they haven't, they're lying. But
I think that's why if you put it with Superman, I don't think Superman works from as many writers as Batman does. I think maybe it just takes more skill or whatever. Maybe it just takes the right kind of writer. I don't know, but you know, so this is interesting. But yeah, so that was November, and then December. Obviously, this is all very recent stuff, but Joshua Williamson started his run on Batman. Obviously, we only had one issue, but it was a solid start. Looking forward to more. Batgirl started this month. That's cool. And then just last week we had Batman One Dark Knight to add on to the Black Label prestige list of books. So, yeah, that's just kind of a summary. Not every single mini was
and
included.
Also the Lemire Mankey Swamp Thing book started this week. That was still December.
Still December. Yes, you're quite right.
You just forgot to include this week.
I forgot to include this week in this list. Yes, you're quite right. So, you know, like, no game-changing Didio is gone news or anything like that this year, but a lot of good books started. I think that's ultimately what you want any given year, really, by and large, right? I mean,
it tends to help, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I decided to put that at the start of the show because I felt like it would probably help you to remember a bunch of books if I told you about all of them.
You think I was paying enough attention?
Oh, I got mine that I want to talk about. We're good.
That's on you, Connor. Okay. Yeah. That's on you. I try and give you a nice out in the open cheat sheet, and you choose to ignore it. That's on you.
More ignoring you than ignoring it, but yeah.
Okay. What do we? Yeah, let's start with artist. So,
okay,
Matt, nominate an artist that you would like to put forth into the discussion for Artist of the Year.
Do I want to work up to self parody, or I just want to lead off with self parody?
I mean, I know who you're going to say if you're self-parodying. So
yeah, we're going to lead off, and I'm going to put out Bill Quist Evely for Superwoman or Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Yes, obviously very good. I mean, I'm not like I like Evely's work quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tend to have her as ranked highly as some other artists. So you know, like for me this past week when we had an issue with that, like, well, the art was fantastic. There was definitely 2 other artists that I was thinking about more when I was picking my artist for the week. But I can't deny like that there's a very confident style in
this is the artist from Wonder Woman issue 8.
Oh, here we go. I'm not sure if that was entirely relevant to the argument for her being best artist this year.
I just think it is. That's all.
Okay.
and I also couldn't say a good thing because we've only had 2 issues. Smallwood for Human Target, right? Like,
sure, yeah.
So I'm going to lean into Evely.
Just for the record, just because you haven't read it, that there has been 3 issues.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but I haven't
He's
read it yet.
He's going to be a pricky about this all show, isn't he? Like, there's an issue this week.
I am. I've got it open as well, just so what came out this week, just so I can pull you up on it every time.
So just for the record, when we do start talking about Action Comics, I understand there's one that came out this week.
Yes.
Connor. All right. I'm sure it's fantastic. I've been trying to block all stuff out, but yes.
Just making sure you know, yeah?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I miss high pitch, Connor.
Me too. At least he made me laugh.
He had character.
Don't want to strangle him right now.
Hey, you're laughing while you're strangling.
You have no idea.
Connor, just throw out a name, will you?
Dan Mora.
That's a good pick.
For what book?
I mean, are we nailing down a specific book? But I mean, mostly he was on Detective,
yeah.
Whatever the Future State book he was on was.
I think it was Dark. There was Dark Detective. I think it was called.
I think it was Dark Detective. Because the detective was in the title.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of the artists we're going to mention are probably just tied to one book for DC this year. But yeah, there may be one or two that will be on more than one book. But yeah, Mora's art's fantastic. You know, that was like, and credit to, I'm not actually nominating this name, even though very, very great artist. But credit to Bogdanovich, who had to be like the fill-in artist when Mora had to take a break, because did an exceptional job of keeping up the standard, even if it wasn't quite Dan Mora still.
It'll be interesting because this week's issue of Detective is Mora's final issue on the book.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if the book maintains trying to stick to his style, because that's what Bogdanovich did mostly, was stick to Mora's style, or if it'll kind of twist into, okay, we can have a new look for the book now going forward.
Being that it's leading to a 12 issue, weekly issue, I feel like the art's going to kind of be all over the place.
I think, yeah, I mean, even if let's just take away the fact that the art might be all over the place because of the artists involved. Let's just talk about in terms of aiming for a style. I think it would be justifiable to give this 12-part thing its own distinct style if it does change at this point.
Yep.
So that'd be okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Mora's great. The city, the lights of Gotham at nighttime were kind of like the theme of his art.
Yeah, those Dark Detective issues that were feeling like they were straight from Blade Runner. Like you had that neon overglow.
Which I think, I can't remember if those were Tamara Bonvillain or if those were Jodie Bellaire's colours back in Future State that kind of established that. I can't remember which one of them it was.
Yeah.
But they deserve as much, if not most of the credit for that look.
Yeah. No, that was one I had in my list as well, yeah.
If you haven't read it this week yet, because that Detective is out this week, there's a cameo of a certain character.
I have seen. Thank you, site that should not be named, for ruining that for me in a panel headline.
I've not seen this, so I'm looking forward to.
You won't get it.
I won't get it. Okay, never mind.
No,
I don't care.
I was like, is that character? And it can't not be.
Yeah.
Also, if you really like Dan Mora's art, and you also like Morrison telling a straightforward story, check out Klaus. I was listening because that's where I first saw Dan Mora's art, and it's a really fun, history of Santa story done, with the Dan Mora art style. So
that's pretty good.
Interesting. Who will I throw out? I'll throw out Redondo. Why not? Bruno Redondo for Nightwing. Easy pick, I think. That book's had a very distinct style since it started. It's very much felt like, because some of the ongoing runs sometimes feel like it's the writer's run, and you might be lucky if it's like two rotating artists or something like that. But that has felt like Taylor and Redondo's run. Yeah. Thus far.
They're working in conjunction with each other. In that issue from last week, where it's basically one long panel, really shows that, where you feel like Taylor just gave Redondo the script and told him have fun.
Yeah, and not to say that, I mean, obviously he took the 3 issues off for the Fear State tie-ins, but and I'm sure there'll be other fill-ins here or there, but it does definitely feel like he's the main artist on the book, and it'll be thought of as their run. So, but yeah, the playing with the color and the Daredevil-esque, like, close-ups and things like that, and
the way that Redondo shows motion to, just as you can follow it just naturally, like you were talking about the Daredevil kind of stuff, where he'll put panels around on the larger page where you follow, but it's all one continuous image. It's just, it always looks great.
Yeah. The book's been a delight to look at since it launched. It's, I mean, we were bound to love it anyway because it was Taylor, but like giving him and it's an artist obviously he'd worked with before. It wasn't like it was a new pairing, but
Taylor, check. Nightwing, check. Redondo, now check. It just has everything going for it.
Yeah. So what's more to say? Matt, give us another name.
All right. So because I feel like someone else is going to bring up the other name that I have, I'm going to go with Fornes for Rorschach and various other covers. I don't know if he did anything else this year that comes to mind, but I just remember constantly raving about his art throughout the year.
I doubt it, because I mean Rorschach only ended in like September, October, so
Yeah.
I
And
presume he was...
the only other stuff I can think that he worked on was Marvel, but he worked on Daredevil for a bit. So I don't know if that was before. I don't even know if that was this year or late last year.
So wait, are you talking about on Chip's Daredevil? So I've got to look forward to.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, but
Excellent.
no, just there were whole issues of Rorschach that really took advantage of his art style with this kind of noir, and there were whole like silent parts of that where you could just tell what the character was thinking without the necessity of thought bubbles or narration panels. And again, we talked about Redondo working hand in hand with Taylor. I felt like King and Fornes worked very much similarly, and that just made that book even better.
Yeah. I mean, I like, it was such a talking point. Like, some books we just kind of gloss over the art because it's just kind of house style and there's not much to say. But then there's some books where like there's so much like thought put into the art and it's adding so many layers to the storytelling, like it does in that book, that it became a talking point. And the pacing of like, so simple things like the character like realizing something, you'd see his like face over like a series of panels, and it would be like a glance down to the side in one panel and then back to for the next panel, and you would feel the thought process of the character over the course of the panels. It was expert stuff.
This week, someone posted the page of him at the diner of the main character, and it seems like he's talking to Rorschach and the kid, and you realize that they're not actually there, right? And just the way that that's handled. Again, there's no dialogue, there's no narration. It's just the art, and you just get that vibe, the way that it is, and it just reminded me how much I really enjoyed that book, and now I have to pick it up in hardcover, I think, once I can find it. Yeah.
No, great pick. Connor, throw out a name.
I'll go with Danny for obviously the Arkham Asylum book, but also the Miracle Molly one shot.
Okay, yeah. That's a nice unconventional pick. I hadn't thought of Danny, but I did really like the art in. Well, I think the horror art in Arkham City is great. It really fits the mood of that book, and I like the. I definitely liked it in the Miracle Molly book. It was distinct and different.
Yeah, I was a big fan of it. It would kind of give it such a strong look. So when a lot of those one shots tend to kind of feel and look fairly generic, just like, oh, this is a house style one shot. That one definitely didn't.
Yeah, no, great stuff. I'll let me throw in Mike Perkins here, because I think Perkins for Swamp Thing is an artist that I've liked since he first showed up. Since we first sort of started talking about his work in Green Lanterns, and then he was on Lois Lane, and I liked his work in both of those books to a varying extent, especially Green Lanterns. But Swamp Thing feels like he's finally like, maybe it's just the perfect match. It's the perfect match of character and world with his style, but it does feel like all the little problems that maybe were there before have cleared up. So, not that we're giving out most improved as an award by any means, and that feels harsh because it's not like he wasn't bad before. He was great, but Swamp Thing's been a joy to read with his artwork this year, and it fits the moodiness and the existential kind of inner crisis that the characters have at like all times perfectly. So
draws monsters great.
Oh yeah, monsters are really good. You got another one to throw out, Matt?
So the other one neither of you said, but Fernando Blanco for Catwoman.
That's going to be my next one.
Gotcha. Yeah. So just kind of everything I said with Fornes, but with a dingier kind of style to really hit that alley town crime side of Gotham. And I just, it always made it feel like I was reading a Sean Phillips. Like him and Fornes, both Blanco and Fornes, have that kind of same style that Phillips has, where it's clean but not completely clean, and it lends itself to darker themes really well. And just, Blanco on Catwoman, like we all know we love Ram V here, but Blanco added that extra element that made Catwoman a real fun book to read.
Oh, Ram V, the Final Frontier. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Better than, as I used to call him, Ram 5. So,
Yeah. Ram 5 is alive. Yeah. Connor, you got another way to throw out?
I would say, despite the quality of the book having declined a little bit, I'm still going to say Joelle Jones for
Okay.
Wonder Girl. The Future State issues as well, I think. Even when the quality of the writing hasn't been fantastic, I think the art has been up there pretty consistently. And I know the last couple of issues have been different artists, but they've been emulating Joelle Jones's style, like, very well, to their credit. But it's definitely felt like a Joelle Jones book in looks the entire time, and it's been great.
Yeah. I guess I'll throw out next, because it's impossible not to mention this. It's kind of a weird one, but I think you have to consider it this way this year, is the team of Mitch Gerrits and Doc Shaner for Strange Adventures. It'd be weird to pick just one. It'd be pointless because it was a team effort, the whole thing.
It was split down the middle.
Yeah,
right?
it was literally half and half.
Theoretically, if you wanted to, you could do half of Strange Adventures with just Mitch's and the other half with Doc's. And sure, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, but I'm sure there's 6 issues of each in there.
But they complement each other, right? They that's the kind of the whole point. And that was a constant discussion, is like how good the art in both sections were, and how much they thematically fit the story they were telling. Gerrits was this kind of harsh, blinding reality that felt like you were being like surrounded and like just covered in all the lights of the world. And then you go to the Doc Shaner art, and it's like this pulpy, perfect, clean lines, solid colors. There's no ambiguity, there's no shadows, it's just what it is. And how that thematically tied into like everything the story was doing. So yeah, and this was one of those books where we only had a couple of issues of it this time last year, so we couldn't really consider it for a lot of things at the time. So this is its year to shine. So Gerrits and Doc Shaner, there's no way you can't nominate those. Matt, you got one final pick maybe to?
Yeah, there's one final. Because I have issues saying their last name, I just call them by the first name, and I want to bring up Gleb from Robin.
Oh, Melnikov.
Yeah, there you go, that guy. I just love how kinetic the art style is, and it fits that book so well. So just like Flatline as a character, that design is real fun. Just the way that he draws Robin, that everyone has their kind of take on each different Robin. I feel like he nails Damian. Then we had the issue that had all the Robins, and those were all done fantastically. The entire first arc's about a fighting tournament, and the fights never let down. Like, I felt that they were always well handled through the art. So that's why I had to bring Gleb.
I would agree that in some of those issues where it is mostly just fights, which can sometimes just feel like there's not much happening because it's just all a fight, the art helped those issues feel like it was still a worthwhile journey the whole time, because it was a story being told through the fight. And that it takes good art to achieve that, so that's a very good pick. Cara, you got another way to throw out?
Sure. We may not have had much of it in the year because I don't think they were on a ton of books for DC, but Sorrentino. We had The Imposter.
I mean, all 3 issues are done. Like, it's out.
They are, and they were double size, right? So it was like kind of like 6 issues worth of material. Those issues were fantastic, and Sorrentino's always great. So
no, I had this on my list too. It was kind of like impossible not to. I almost feel bad sometimes, like doing something that just came out, because it feels like you're kind of like giving it some sort of recency bias. But the art in that was phenomenal, and
it's Sorrentino.
I know.
I feel like we've spoken about Sorrentino a lot over the years, so it shouldn't really be a surprise.
No.
Yeah. So that's a good one. So I'll throw out one last one as well, and that is Alvaro Martinez for Nice House in the Lake. Super moody, super mysterious. I'm realizing a lot of the artists I picked this year do have quite like sort of horror, dark, moody sort of styles. But it was in this. I guess everyone's just feeling moody because of the pandemic, so that's just the mood that a lot of the art has.
I mean, Nice House in the Lake definitely feels inspired by the pandemic. Right?
Yeah.
It fits.
So, and that book has, because it's not dealing with superheroes, it doesn't have costumes, it doesn't have any of that. it has to really rely on like facial expressions. It has to rely on the storytelling, focusing on it, because we don't necessarily remember all the characters every issue because there's so many of them. That each issue, when it focuses on a specific character, it has to kind of like give them like personality through the art, identity through the art, and I think it does that really well. Plus, there's all the nice, pretty shots of the house and the mysterious things around the house. There's a lot of good, creepy panels and stuff, and the villain looks just downright deranged when we see him. So
yeah, those panels where it shifts from the villain looking like a normal person to their actual form, they're so distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's time for us each to pick our artist of the year. I mean, does anyone have one they've locked in that they know they're picking?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt. Oh, God.
I'm going with Fornes.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly this year, anytime we talked about Rorschach, that always took my art. Yeah. So I have to go.
I'm not going to lie.
Fornes.
When you said, yeah, you got one locked in, I'm like, oh, God, he's going to pick Evil.
No.
I didn't say that.
Again, I only started with that one to get the self-parody out of the way. Started with the joke. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Carl, have you got one picked?
Sure. Let's just pick one now. Obviously, not just the ones that I've mentioned, but all the ones that
of course.
mentioned.
Yeah. Obviously, other people may have mentioned the one you're going to pick. That's fine. Like it's.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that obviously they're all good. Like I agree with every pick. That even on the books, like you've mentioned Smallwood and Fauna. I don't read those books, but I can. Well, I read an issue of each, but the art is still clearly fantastic every issue.
Spoiler for next
But
year.
I'm not
It's
gonna
probably gonna be small from me. Just a hint.
Well, he's going to have 10 issues next year.
I did. I don't know if you've seen it, but last week he put out a Twitter thread detailing about how the look of this book came about, like the style and how he settled on it, and it was like the process. Really good thread. Definitely worth checking out.
I'll have to look at that.
That said, obviously I'm not going to pick either of those because I didn't really read enough of them personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I recognise they're great and would probably be in contention. I'm probably going to give it to Redondo overall, I think.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's my second choice.
Yeah. I think I have a pick, and it is a different pick from you two. There's no repeats here. I think I have to go with Gerrits and Shaner for Strange Adventures. Like Rorschach is close, and again, what deal has Tom King made with the devil to have the best of the best every time?
Yeah,
he's using some ex-CIA blackmail skills.
I know he's got intel on people.
He does.
No, I don't think it's intel. I think he just gets into their brains, and they're like, work with Tom King, work with Tom King, work with Tom King, and then they just do, So
I like the idea that it's actually Tom Taylor doing that, but they keep making this mistake and go to the wrong one.
So, damn it! I need to change my Twitter profile back. He's too busy fending off bear attacks from Gale. So
yeah.
Every time they announce a new book, Taylor's like, "Damn it! It happened again."
Because Taylor did that thing where he mimicked King's photo on Twitter. He wore the same DC hat and did the same nod.
Which messed me up a lot. Because when you're just skimming through Twitter and you follow both of those guys,
and they don't like. I mean, I'm not saying they look a lot alike, but like they've got similar shaped heads. They're both white. Like once they've got the hat on, like they do look like it was quite close.
But and then on your phone screen, if you're not paying attention, there's both Tom in the name, and the picture's similar. And the
amount of times like when I use Twitter on my phone, I barely even look at the names of people. I have a glance at the image, and even though it's not like I'm looking at exactly the images, it's just the general color scheme, and I kind of know who that is because I don't have tons of people on Twitter. But I got enough that that pinkish picture, I know that's that person just at a glance. Right. So when two people have really similar pictures, it's very annoying. Or worse is when one person's had a picture for like 2 years and then they change it.
Do you know what I think would be really funny? I think if everyone that Connor follows conspired to all change their photo in the same time, just every single one in these Twitter lists, just all changed.
Change it all to the same thing as well, yeah?
Yes. All just a picture of Jason Todd. Just.
Oh, boy. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, Garrett's a shitter for me. I mean, for obvious reasons we've already stated at this point, but like that and Rorschach, it was between those two in terms of the books, because like the art was such a discussion on both of them every time. Yep. That so that's the pick. So there you go. We have 3 different picks, which is, I guess, exciting for variety's sake. So moving on to writer. I imagine a lot of the same books are going to be mentioned here, but obviously we're going to be focusing on the writing. Unlike artists, though, writers do tend to work on more than one book at a given time. So because of that, and for some of these names, we're going to be saying, well, you can just count one book if you want to. Really, that one book could be the reason why you want to nominate them. But you can also be like, well, yeah, but they wrote like 3 books that were all great, and that's kind of a.
I think it's more interesting as well. Like, it's someone who's putting out 4 really good books as good as someone who's putting out 1 great book, or is someone who's putting out 1 great book that you love, but then a book that you really don't like. Does that drag them down a bit?
Yeah.
Compared to the artists who don't have as much of that average to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. So the writing can be a little bit of like, even if some of the same names are going to be tied to some of these artists, they have this weird like thing going on where they've got multiple work to kind of consider. So, all right, Matt, name your first. Me? Yeah, name your first writer. Go on.
Okay, so I already know who I have a top 3 of, right? But in the spirit of all of us having one, I'm not going to lead with the top 2, let's say, because I feel like I'm going to. One of you guys is going to name the other one, right?
Okay.
You want to put Bendis out there? Is that what you're saying?
No. Only if you put Rosmo at art, but we already passed art, so I can't. So I'm going to start with this one. And it's Philip Kennedy Johnson for Action Comics and the Future State stuff. His Superman was fantastic.
Just his Superman plethora in general.
Yeah, but I want to really point out, like, as great as Action Comics has been, how different the whole King Arthur space Superman stuff was. The House of L.
What, you mean the single worst issue that he's done in Superman?
No. No.
Pete, you're the only person who thinks that.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Also,
the issue. See the actual World at War issues he did in Future State. They were like those were the ones that worried me. The one with the girl going to the farm, the museum. That was like jaw dropping to me. That issue.
Right, but so I feel like that was where he was pointing where he was gonna go. But I felt like the House of L stuff was like, hey, let's have some fun while we're doing this whole future thing. And because it was so different, it really resonated with me. And then just all his Action Comic stuff through this year has been. He made the Authority, Superman and the Authority, work. In that I feel like that Morrison and Janin book was kind of a mess at points, but the fact that he took those characters, made them work in current continuity, and as we talked about, the reason that Superman and the Authority book even came about was Morrison being like, no, we can't do something bad to Superman, so he jumped on that grenade and did the best that he could. So the fact that PKJ has decided to incorporate that in when probably didn't have to, like, there's other things he could have done. That's just some skillful handling of Superman mythos.
I would say the only thing I disagree with there is say he didn't have to. I suspect it was more of an editorial mandate that he had to include them, and that makes it. But that makes it to me more impressive,
right?
Because it's not like that he had an idea that he was like, oh, I'm going to work these in, and it's going to be, this is my plan. It was more him being told you've got to bring these in, and him doing it in such a impressive way. Yeah. To me, that's better.
I like the idea that he's told you have to bring in these characters, and he's like, well, I need some red shirts, so
exactly.
Yeah.
Careful what you ask.
Johnson. From a name that we kind of just recognize because he did this fantasy book that only Connor read.
That I loved. That
to be in a premier, Superman creative at this point. Like, I feel like this War World stuff is going to go down as an all-timer. And that's, as a Superman fan, that makes me very happy.
Yeah, so I obviously enjoyed Johnson's work this year. I think it's been the build to the War World saga has felt like a build, and it feels like it is kind of this big epic that he's about to just really dig his teeth into. So no, I concur with that. Connor, what you got to throw out there name wise?
I'm gonna take the obvious one from me, I think, which is Ram V. I discovered at the end of last year, just kind of before he was on a lot of the DC books.
Fun fact: I ordered on your recommendation, Savage Shores. Still has never showed up at my shop because of issues with shipping and.
Did you buy it for
ordering.
$1 on Comixology yet?
No, because I want it physically. So I'm gonna try to. Once 2022 kicks on, I'm gonna go back to my shop and be like, "Hey,
Where the
is this
hell's
out
my
of
book?
print?" Yeah. If it's out of print, then yes, I'll go pick it up digitally. But I want it because it's Ramsey.
Yeah.
So, but I remember you raving about that book and telling me I need to read it. And then this guy is taking over Catwoman, and he has the Swamp Thing coming out. So.
Yeah, and it is obviously for DC those two books that has been the bulk of it. I think he's done like the odd short thing here or there and anthologies and whatnot, but it's mainly Catwoman and Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Catwoman was where I jumped in when he was taking over, which was, not this year, it was tail end of previous year, but obviously the bulk of his Catwoman run was this year, and Swamp Thing has, and I've been wanting a good Swamp Thing book for a long time, and we have disagreed many times in the past about what we want out of a Swamp Thing book, so it's perhaps impressive that it's working for you, when I feel like he's given me exactly the sort of tone and sort of style that I want in a Swamp Thing book, and what I've been wanting, sort of like a successor to kind of the Alan Moore era of Swamp Thing, that style.
It is. For you, it's hitting on like the horror sort of vibes of it, and the elemental force of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's doing all the ideas about stories and ideas, and
well, there's a mythical aspect to it.
There is. That's actually in general a theme of a lot of books I've read this year. I'll talk about more of those in the other non-DC section later. But the idea of essentially tulpas, the ideas of ideas and stories kind of coming to life in some form or another.
You say
a common theme.
You say tulpa, and all I can think about is Twin Peaks. But yeah.
Well, yes, but. That is the idea, right? In Twin Peaks.
But you say tulpa, and I see like a ball, and then I see like a head sort of with smoke coming out of it.
You think only Twin Peaks?
I think only Twin Peaks.
Well, wait, was that stuff on early Twin Peaks or the Return?
Return.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I had never heard of a tulpa until like 3-4 years ago, on some of the supernatural stuff I listened to.
Oh, I'd never heard of it until Twin Peaks 2017 either.
Yeah, so if David Lynch was talking about that stuff way back in the early 90s, holy crap. But it all makes much more sense.
He did
also would have been surprising.
I mean, he did other impressive stuff though, Matt. Like, there's a line in the last original episode of Twin Peaks where a character says, we'll see you in 25 years, and it's almost 25 years to the month that the return happened.
So I listen, I'll put over a show I listen to a lot, since this is an annual, but I listen to a show called the Bigfoot Collectors Club, and they get into a lot of supernatural, cryptid, ghosts. Yeah. I hope Tim listens to it. He would thoroughly.
I'm pretty sure him and Tim are the only 2 listeners, right? I think
there's quite a sizable fan base. It's pretty good. Anyway, they constantly talk about David Lynch in how he was what's the word I'm looking for? Not inspired, influenced by kind of the Mothman prophecy stuff, and that a lot of his weirder things like Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive, if you look into it, there's a lot of spooky high strangeness going on there. So again, for him talking about tulpas, if it was back in the 90s, totally would have bought it, just because that's where his brain is in. Just he's a strange dude, and I can see where that type of stuff Pete is clamming onto when it comes to Swamp Thing, right? Like, it fits with that character. Like what works with Ram v Swamp Thing too is it can be a sci-fi story, or it can be a mythical story, it can be a horror story, and they all equally work, because I feel like different issues all represented that aspect of the character.
Yeah.
All while introducing a new Swamp Thing.
Yeah. So the fact that he did that, and then also a kind of fun crime story in Catwoman.
Complete opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is very impressive. So I mean, if one of the things you're looking for in a writer that's writing multiple books is like, do you want 2 books that are clearly the same writer, or do you want a writer who's can show they can be really good at 2 completely different things? I don't necessarily think one's a more favorable thing than the other, but it's still interesting that you can do that.
Preference, because I'm sure there's at least one writer that I'm pretty sure one of you two is going to mention soon that definitely leans towards the former of those 2 schools of thought, right?
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you don't like that style.
Right.
Well, yeah, but if that point you don't like that writer
style
anyway,
and you're not going to get bored of it, then
yeah,
it's a very good thing.
yeah.
Whereas, if it's someone that you're kind of okay on, then versatility might be the better thing that you want out of that writer.
I don't want to sit down to watch a David Lynch movie and get like Michael Mann's Heat, right? Like, as much as I love Michael Mann's Heat, that's not what I'm expecting from David Lynch.
This is the same guy that sat down and interviewed a monkey for Netflix. So like, the dude has a sense of humor. So maybe him reshooting Heat, it could be the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, he does like to give a weather report for LA like every day.
Yeah.
On his YouTube, he just records a little thing saying, "Yep, it's pretty sunny today."
I feel David Lynch I put in the same aspect of Guillermo del Toro, where maybe the movies aren't for me, but I would love to hang out with them for an hour.
Oh sure.
Like. Maybe David Lynch, not as much as Guillermo del Toro, but I feel like you'd get a story where if you had coffee with David Lynch, like there's at least a story there.
I can't remember what it was he said, what the question was, but someone asked him, it's a famous interview with David Lynch where someone asked him about one of his movies. Like, would you say that this thing in your movie is about, I'll just say spiritualism, but I won't, I wasn't what the word was,
right.
But would you say this is about this? And he'd say, yes. It's like, would you care to elaborate? No.
Yeah. This is a guy that only started making movies because his people in film school told him that he was really good with cameras. So he's like, I could make movies. And now that's his career. Like, who does that?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love that this is somehow turned into David Lynch appreciation this episode.
Yeah.
But
even Matt's getting in on it.
I know.
Well, because again, I like him as a character. Maybe not his movies. I think out of his movies, the only one I thoroughly enjoyed was Blue Velvet. And Elephant Man, but that's very straightforward.
That's pretty straightforward story.
Yeah, I'm not going to get at that one. But, I'm not a David Lynch guy as for movies, but as a creative, as someone whose interviews that I would want to read, like him putting Ingrid Cole in Lost Highway, it's like, what the hell?
Do you know what's so special about David Lynch? He's mastered like the awkward pause. Like, I'm thinking of moments in the newer Twin Peaks where it's him himself, because he plays a character in Twin Peaks called Gordon Cole, and there's like a couple of moments in that where someone will say something, and it'll cut to him, and he'll just sort of like sit there awkwardly for like 10 seconds, and it's the sort of thing where like anyone else directing this would feel like a mistake, or it would feel like Tommy Wiseau is doing something, but with David Lynch, it's perfectly timed. He knows how to craft the awkwardness, and it clicks in a way.
How long did we watch a man sweep a floor for?
Exactly.
Mop a floor?
I know. Yeah. There's a 5 minute scene of someone sweeping a floor.
This is the next Mild Fuzz shirt, and it's David Lynch is Tommy Wiseau, but good. That's what Pete essentially just said.
It's like Tommy Wiseau, but he actually has some sort of insane method to his madness that makes sense to him.
He's Tommy Wiseau on purpose. Right? Imagine what David Lynch's The Room is. I don't want to think about it. Anyways, Pete, who's your are we done talking about Ramsey? Are we good?
Yeah, we can.
I'm sure Ravi will appreciate this tangent.
You know what? The fact that Connor said he's aware of the show, right? When he went to Thought Bubble, I am sure that if this gets
Connor got recognized by Ram V.
Yeah, like I'm sure he'll get a kick out of Connor bringing him up as best writer of the year. Yet we diverge hard left turn into David Lynch talk. I'm sure he'll get a kick out of it.
I think most good writers would appreciate a hard left turn into David Lynch talk.
Yeah, there you go. So,
yeah, who am I nominating then?
Pete, you're gonna say the name?
Tom. Tom King. I'll say Tom King.
Sure.
I mean, come on, like Strange Adventures in Rorschach, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. The only negative is that Batman Catwoman's a bit iffy, right?
Yeah,
that's gotten a bit iffy.
Strong. It has just slowly, but like, what am I reading?
But like,
that's
sitting next to like what I would say are basically 2 10 out of 10s, and then Supergirl's like been rising steadily as it's been on, and it's probably comfortably at least above an 8 overall now, and maybe might reach higher heights by the time it's done.
Yeah.
So what else is there to say at this point? Like, but Rorschach was this great story, this like existential thing of a character like slowly being convinced by memories and flashbacks of someone else's story that convinces him to become something. Like, I don't want to get into it too much, but like super great stuff. And then everything we've said about Adam Strange, or Strange Adventures rather, and like the way it paired off, like Alana becoming this great character who we kind of did this like 180 on throughout the story because of the way it played with like our expectations of how she was being portrayed and so on. Like yeah, I mean, like, while there's the odd fumble, like, yes, Heroes in Crisis was a bit of a dark time.
We don't talk about that.
But like, that was like right as Mr. Miracle was ending and right before Strange Adventures was starting. Like,
he's done far more good than harm at this point.
I know, and while obviously we're not going to try to include it as like one of the best books of the year because it's only been 2 issues so far, but yeah, I think in terms of talking about best writer, you can include the 2 issues of Human Target he's also done into the mix. Like, so you add all those things up, and it's like, on pure stats, on pure numbers alone, I feel like he might win. Like, he might just technically win mathematically over other writers in terms of our like opinions on the various books. But yeah, Tom King. He's a fairly obvious name to throw out. He's been in the discussion probably every year since we started this show.
Yeah. I mean, so far that's 2. You guys have mentioned 2 out of my 3, and I'll leave the third out of the third to one of you guys too.
No, sorry, I'll let you have it.
Well, you're next, Matt. So I mean, you can.
I could, but there's other names I want to bring up too.
Oh, go on then. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna bring up Josh Williamson, who just misses that top 3. Robin's one of my favorite books of the year. I go on and on about how much I like it, but he's also been carrying that torch of kind of the mainstream fun DC writer with like Deathstroke Inc. and then Justice, Infinite Frontier, Justice League Incarnate. While they're both a little bit messy, I still more enjoy than I don't enjoy with Williamson. And then you have his Batman, which we've gotten an issue of that, kicked off with a bang. That I could not bring him up.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider him for the best writer of the year. I think I like his stuff. I think I'm generally into it, and he seems like he's gradually kind of getting better over time. Robin might be his best thing this year.
Yeah. That's solely why I put him up there is how much I love the Robin book.
Yeah.
But he also had those other stuff that I had to mention as well.
Like I enjoy a lot of what he's written, but not all of it. And I feel like a lot of what he's written as well is very generic, but not generic just in terms of like the industry or anything like that. I mean, in terms of, it's a DC book. Like it feels like, this is a standard DC book. And that might be a good thing if that's what you're after, but also it's less interesting. Yeah. But it's very reliable at those things.
Sure. I mean, even going back to last year when he started off Batman, Superman, and just how fun that book was early on. It felt like a DC book I wanted to read that, doesn't feel like it has to be tied to this huge event. It doesn't feel like this prestige like some of the other writers that he's just writing superhero, like fun superhero stuff. And like his Flash was all over the place. It was really a roller coaster where it had some really high highs, but the lows were matched. And so I feel like Pete said, like Robin is the best thing he's done at DC thus far. And we have Deathstroke Inc. still rolling out. We know that's going to cross over with all the other stuff that he's writing. And I just feel like that's something that we haven't really had, like the writer's self crossover in a very long time. And I feel like Williamson can do it. And yeah, so again, while he's not in maybe my top 3, I did feel I wanted to bring him up.
Not the only writer doing that soon. I feel like that name's about to come up in a second. Cara, would you like to nominate another name?
I would. I'll still stay away from the big gun. Just we'll hold off.
We're dancing around it. It's good.
I'm sure everyone knows exactly who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll stay dancing around it for a little bit. I'll go with Tynan.
Okay.
I think between Batman and Nice House, had a very
Uh,
consistent, solid, really enjoyable output from DC this year. Obviously, we had all the Fear State stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All those
very
Fear State
good.
one shots too, with the
Yeah,
origins that he didn't have to write, right? They were all supplemental, but I feel like they were all good in their own way.
Yeah, and some of which I think were co-written, but I think he kind of plotted the ideas for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess an example of, like, you know, he's doing this pretty great superhero book, but he's also doing this more creator own style original IP that's, you know, quirky, that's not a good word, but this
To say quirky is not a word I would use to describe that book.
This, you know, mysterious horror apocalyptic book.
It's one of the rare Black Label books that feels like a Vertigo book. And that's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But Black Label, when it was introduced, it was kind of like, this is kind of going to be the replacement for home for Vertigo books. And we haven't actually had too many of those. I think this is one of the few that definitely does belong in that.
Yeah, I'd say Hill House books, but I actually think that they are actually classed as Black Label, technically, even though, I mean...
No, I think they're their own Hill House. But it's their own imprint.
But I mean, all but name, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, no one's going to argue with Tynan, I don't think. And I think, you know, his Batman one started in 2020, but I think the 2021 portion of it was the better segment. The build to Fear State and then Fear State itself, I think, is the better part of his run. I mean, I enjoyed Joker War and the build to that, but
this was on that book for the majority of the year. Most of the year, I think it was double shipping.
A lot of the year, yeah. I don't even say the majority. I mean, like, he literally only December is the only month he wasn't writing.
Right. I don't know if it was double shipping the entire year up to that point, or if it was some months and not others. I can't remember exactly.
It was only a few months it was double shipping, because it was was it during Fear State or was it just before Fear State? There was a few months where it was double shipping. Because it used to be Detective was double shipping for a little bit, and then it switched to Batman for a few months.
It was during Joker War.
No, because that was the previous year.
Okay.
Yeah. It was definitely double shipping recently. I know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it was probably Fear State it was double shipping during.
There was probably a good amount of issues that we got of Tynan's Batman.
If you're including like the 4 or 5 one-shots, the Secret Files issues.
Yeah.
And then
not included those.
And then the Alpha and the Omega issues. Yeah. Like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that adds up.
I mean, he made Scarecrow a legit, like, bad guy. Which is real cool.
He kind of he at least had a solid effort of trying to elevate him to A-lister, and that final, you know, the Omega issue kind of tried to kind of cement that by having the guards talk about him in that way. Like, now he is one of them. He's one of the A-listers. So we'll see if that sticks. But
so wait and see if that remains the case. But right now, it's as good as anyone could have done, I think, in one story.
Yeah. All right. So then I have to nominate someone. So yeah, I do have a name. Yeah, I've thought of one. But actually, I want to give Tamaki a shout out, Mariko Tamaki. For, I mean, obviously Detective being the main thing this year. I think that book, as much as have sat and said Batman's really good and has been really good this year, I think Detective's been the more consistent of the two main Bat books.
Yeah.
And I've loved the various genre that is dipped into with the monster stuff. I think it's really done a great job with the supporting cast being and Batman has done as well, to be fair. All the Bat books have actually been really good at that this year. Like, we don't really do a best, like, corner of DC, mainly because other than Batman and Superman, most of the characters don't have corners anymore. They don't do enough books. But the Bat corner, the Bat, that section of the DC universe has been really consistently great this year. It all sharing characters and all feeling like they've got a world revolving around them all. Really good stuff. And I think Tamaki's Detective's done a great job with that. And, making characters like Mayor Nakano feel like an important character, and doing that with a new character is such a impressive feat.
Cool. And telling a new villain with Lyle.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was pretty cool. Because it's very how often do we get a whole new arc with a new villain? Like, because everyone, like we were talking earlier, everyone has a Batman story. I feel like everyone has a Batman villain story they have in their head. But Tamaki came in and was like, no, what if I have a brain slug as a villain?
It was also nice. It gave Huntress a bit of like a good supporting role for a couple of arcs.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that I think Tamaki came to DC and there was hopes for the Wonder Woman run, and it was good. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessarily up to her standard from our Marvel stuff. And I think her detective is up to that. I think her detectives were okay. This is the Tamaki that I was excited about being on a DC book, and I'm delighted that she's here now. So, there you go. That said, though, my winner of Writer of the Year is Tom Taylor.
I was gonna say, am I gonna do it? Am I gonna say the patron saint of Comics From The Multiverse?
I like the idea of like going through all the names, but I say, but none of them won. None of them won.
Yeah. I mean, we can all kind of agree on Tom Taylor, right?
I don't know. Are we all picking Tom Taylor?
I am.
Probably.
I held off on saying his name.
Probably.
I mean, I can understand if Connor wanted to push for Ram V.
That would have been like that's the only one that was in contention for me.
Yeah. So that my order came down to Tom Taylor, Ram V, Tom King, and then Williamson, and then probably Johnson right after.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, Nightwing, Son of Kal-El, the Dark Knights of Steel, if we can count that.
I mean, this you can, because
I'm counting it.
We're talking about his entire library of the year, and I think that's totally valid.
Like,
even his final issue of The Last Deceased book was the start of the year, so I mean, you can throw that in the mix. I mean, the one thing that's maybe not like as hot, obviously, is Batman the Detective. That's the one.
Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about that.
Did he do anything in Future State? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Oh, you're asking.
Because
I don't remember anything, but I'm just thinking maybe I've forgotten.
I don't, because
it was a while ago.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Because his Nightwing didn't start till March, so he just wasn't associated with them until then. So I don't know what he would have been doing if he had done anything.
I want to point out on this too that I gave Bendis a lot of crap for telling this, keeping Naomi going right through these different books and whatever, but it always just felt sloppy. You could see the reasoning why. Yet Tom Taylor does the same thing, but with certain characters. But for me, it works out. Whereas,
I think the difference is in his books, the characters, with most of my characters like Wink and Airy here, I think.
Right.
They just show up like, hey, here's a thing, drop it off, and then they're gone again.
Right.
Like they're there for a scene. They're not, this is half their book now.
Right. And that's where I feel like starting with his Suicide Squad, there's a theme that goes through his books that they all work in conjunction with each other. Like it feels like an era of Tom Taylor. And that takes a lot to work because the tones are different. Like the tone of Suicide Squad is really different than the tone of Nightwing, but they're kind of telling the same theme. Right?
There's a theme that's kind of there between the both of them, and a heart that I think is there between them.
Yeah.
And I think when you get to Nightwing, which is obviously the crown jewel of maybe his entire DC work at this point, I mean, it's maybe a little early to say that, but it feels like it's heading that way. And I think that's partly because you marry up the way because he gave us mostly original characters in Suicide Squad, and we love Suicide Squad. He gave us like alternate versions of characters in Deceased, and we love pretty much all of that. I think with Nightwing, it's like, no, here's him unleashed on some of the important main characters in the DCU, and we're all big dick racing fans, and it's like all of a sudden that heart has been applied to the in continuity, like one of the more important characters, and it's the character, and we've said that he's made us tear up about Alfred like probably 5 times since he started writing Nightwing, and it's exceptionally good stuff. It's like you marry his quality of writing with just also being really good at telling part of the ongoing comic book universe, and that's important because obviously we talk about how good Tom King is at doing these prestige 12-issue things, and that's obviously wonderful and all that, but part of the fun of comic books is the shared universe. It's having all these characters constantly evolving and like the past mattering, and I think Tom Taylor nails that aspect of it. He nails being in the continuity and connecting to parts of the character's past and knowing what's important about them, what matters to him, which luckily in turn seems to be typically what also matters to most of us as well at the same time.
His love of the universe and characters shines through. Like you can tell his love of Dick Grayson through just how he's handling this with the relationship with Babs, where it's never actually addressed about them, but it just feels they're together, right? Like
it's but the Babs and Dick relationship in Nightwing is basically what I've been hoping for since the start of Rebirth. The way it feels is just like it feels like it's actually moving forward, but they're not actually doing a lot of sappy romance stuff. It's just there's all these little bits.
You say it's not actually addressed. I think that's something that will come up. I think they will have to address it at some point. But to each other as the characters,
when she showed up in that first issue, we just kind of accepted it. We're like, well, of course, like they're both really big in each other's lives as far as the versions of those characters we like, right? It throws both that up. And then when it comes to Superman, like he's not exactly writing Clark because Clark's off world, but that love of Superman comes through John, and how he's made John a man of the people again, whereas he's made it clear that like Superman was at one point like that, but as he's aged, his ideals have changed just a little bit. Like he still sees the good in everybody, whereas John has that edge that Superman had.
About the Superman book is that with Nightwing, he's doing Dick Grayson, and he's doing Dick Grayson in a way that we've all wanted for Dick to feel as important as he does in that book for a long time. And even though we've liked a lot of the Nightwing stuff, like we've liked Tim Seeley's stuff in Rebirth, and even Sam Humphrey's short stint before Rick invaded everything.
Ben Percy.
But like we've wanted Dick to feel this prominent and feel like, because he's felt like he should feel like an A-lister in the DC world, and this book actually makes him feel that way.
Yeah,
I think what's so interesting about him also doing the Superman book where it's John Kent is that Dick's finally getting done properly as Dick Grayson, and the Dick Grayson we always wanted. John as Superman, it's like, no, he gets to do a different version of Superman with this. He gets to spin it on its head a little bit, and and that was shown great in that recent issue with the chess game, and how it showed how different John was to Clark.
It's kind of funny that Tom Taylor has only ever done a different version of Superman, right?
Yeah. Up until
that's what I was saying. But the love comes through of that. Like I know he has love for Superman, and that if he ever got a chance to write Clark proper, it would be good, right? But the fact that he's choosing to do these different versions, and he's written John so much at this point,
I'd say, I'm sure he's written, like, I know he's written bits of Clark, like early on in Deceased, for example.
Right.
But in general, he said what Injustice, Deceased was John. Obviously, this is John. Dark Knights of Steel is a very different Clark again. Like, he's not done a lot of regular Clark.
Here's the thing, though. He's so good at playing with like who Superman is and the themes of Superman, because you have to understand who Superman is to subvert him. right.
And so that's why it
feels
works.
Like a very particular dig at someone.
I don't know who you could be talking about there.
I'll leave it to your imagination, audience.
Yeah, that's another thing that happened this year. The Snyder Cut happened. Just putting that out there into the world.
But how have we not, when talking about Nightwing, how are we not branded as big dick energy? How's that gone this year and us not mention it? Unless you guys did when I wasn't on the show.
I don't recall cracking that joke, but
yeah, I just when Pete was talking about how effortless Taylor's writing Dick, I was just like, big dick energy. Say it.
There was a moment where Pete said, "We're all big Dick Grayson fans," and it felt like there was a moment where he paused and added Grayson in, like an adjustment, like he realized what he was about to say. I don't know if that was conscious or not, but it definitely it sounded like there was an adjustment mid-sentence.
I don't think it was. I think it was just I'm just tired, and I'm just my speaking.
It was just an awkward pause at the just the right moment to let us think.
I mean, it's Tom Taylor. It's an automatic ad. My shop knows if Tom Taylor has a book come out, just throw it in my pile.
And to feel good about the year coming ahead, like he's had a great year. He said Nightwing's a long run. At least as long as they get their way, Nightwing's going to be a long haul, which is great. But he only just signed an exclusive deal like this past month, meaning that we have like 3 full years probably at least of multiple Taylor books at DC, and we know that there's announcements to come. So 2022 is looking bright. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, obviously we'll have the rest of Dark Knights of Steel. I think that's 12 issues. That'll finish, assuming there's no breaks, that'll finish late in the year, probably. I can't remember when that started exactly.
September, October,
give or take.
Like
Maybe there'll be a sequel to that book at some point in the same way that there was for Deceased.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Yeah.
I would expect at least one other major title alongside the things that he's on at the minute. He's only on 3 books now,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, it's the sort of thing where maybe he gets ahead on like Darkness of Steel. Maybe he's actually, maybe it's not that long till he's done writing all
Right.
that for the artist to just get cracking away
Well,
on, and then
he's been kind of teasing something big too. That he has
Isn't
something
he
up his
always?
sleeve. Yeah, yeah, but like this, it feels like after the exclusive came, he's like, oh, I can finally talk about what the big thing is, and so it's got to be bigger than Nightwing, Son of Kal-El.
I don't think it's
Darkness
this
of
just
Steel.
now, but like if I was to like put bets on like who's taking over Batman after Williamson's done, like Taylor would
Could
be at
be.
the top of the list.
I think it's more likely, personally, I think it's more likely that it would be taking over Detective after Tamaki. I can see this 12 issue, The Tower, being like the end of that run.
timing does work out with that because it does feel like we're getting towards the end of her
I would
time.
say that's more likely given that Williamson's just started, and those two I think have worked together a bit already.
I just mean in the sense that, I mean, that's funny because obviously Taylor transitioned to Tamaki for X-23
Right.
Marvel, but I just mean in the sense that like it feels like he's going to get like let's be honest, the biggest flagship book at DC is Batman. It just is. It's always going to be now because of the popularity. And it feels, even if it's because even Tynan like had a big run Detective, which we all loved, and he still got a Batman run afterwards. So
I just
think
feel like
he managed that by having his Detective run be not a Batman run, but instead be a Bat Family run.
that's what I feel that Taylor would do, just from seeing how he handles the family in Nightwing. I feel like
just watch his Batman run start off with like Bruce having to leave and Dick has to take over, so it just continues his Nightwing run into Batman.
fine by me.
Just cancel the Nightwing book and rename it.
Yeah.
Just rename it.
Batman,
just cross
Big
out
Dick
Nightwing
energy.
and just put Batman 2.
Batman 2. But I mean, it could be something not Bat related. It could be like, I don't know. Maybe they give Taylor GSA or something. I don't know. We've been waiting for that for freaking ages.
It'd be in terms of stuff coming up, not just Taylor though, but we know Ram V's got something cooking that's
big.
higher profile. As we said,
That's exciting. Yeah, that's good.
I don't know what exactly it'll be, but I'm very intrigued. Kind of no matter what it is at this point.
Yeah. So that's cool. I guess I won't bother asking what we're excited for in 2022 at the end now. We basically just had that conversation.
I mean, we mostly limited that to the Tom Taylor things we were excited about.
I mean, if we're still going to, I have some stuff in 2022.
Sure. Well, we'll save it for the end.
Pin it. All right.
Let's save it for the end. But yes, okay, so we all picked Tom Taylor for Writer of the Year.
Yes.
So unanimous, I suppose, is the thing. So before we get on to the main part, which is the top 10 and like arguing what we think the top 10 should be, disappointments and surprises of the year, perhaps, as I think. I have two, so I'll just kickstart here with two. Two disappointments I had this year. One is Wonder Girl, because it declined very sharply, and after being so excited for it, it just got more muddy, and I realized I didn't like the writing that much, to the point where after issue 6 I'm like, I'm done with this book now. Like I'm dropping it. And then the other disappointment, funnily enough, is Batman the Detective. Not that it's the worst thing ever, but compared to what I expect from Tom Taylor, it was disappointing, and I was just kind of apathetic towards the last couple issues. So
if we're putting it on the Taylor tier, right, and like Nightwing's S tier, I definitely put Batman the Detective around CD, just because it was fine, and I'm never gonna revisit it. So
yeah. So I mean, to the year's credit, I don't have like anything huge to complain about, really, in terms of like some seismic thing that really pissed me off or something super disappointing. Like I don't think any big runs ended prematurely where I was like pissed, because I remember like being mad that like I feel like the last couple of years before now, there was definitely a few like creative teams that I was hoping would have long runs on books, and then they ended after like 10 or 12 issues. I'm thinking like Wilson on Wonder Woman, for example, or there's other ones that I'm forgetting now, but I don't think I had any of those this year. I think this year, like, even the ones that did come to an end, is like we were kind of warned in advance, and it was like, okay, this is a natural point where we're moving on something else or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I mean, DC was definitely less chaotic this year with that kind of stuff.
Like, could it be that the new management's better than Didio?
Quite possibly.
It could be.
I mean, I would say the quality of the books typically is a bit better as well.
I'd say I don't know if there's as many like standouts as we had in previous years.
Sure.
I'd say the average quality is probably higher though.
Yeah, but it's good. So yeah. Any surprises or disappointments from it? Matt, you got any?
Yeah, I mean, Bendis taking a swan dive is a big disappointment because I still want to like his stuff, but like the way that Checkmate and his Justice League was handled, it ended up being a mess. I don't care about Leonardo Lane, and it was Checkmate had kind of built to this with the Leviathan stuff, which Leviathan as an idea is something I really liked, and it just felt like DC was like, well, we're brushing that under, and we're just not going to deal with this type of stuff. So that, and the only reason I was still picking it up was for Justice League Dark, but like when I picked up my comics this week, I forgot to grab Justice League, didn't realize till I got home, and that's enough to tell me, yeah, I think you're done with it. You can pick up Justice League Dark when it gets collected, and it might read a whole lot better. The other disappointment that I had was Green Lantern, because half of that book I still really enjoy. The stuff with Jon Stewart, I absolutely do not. So at this point, it's like, do I keep reading it for the Joe story? And I just think to save time, I'm just gonna have to let that go, which is a bummer because I love reading Green Lantern, and for the last couple of years, outside of Far Sector, there hasn't been anything that makes me like want to jump to read it. Which coming off that first issue, with it seemed like the status quo had changed.
Just gonna keep going, Matt. It's fine.
Gotcha.
Cameras are wonky till Connor comes back, but gonna go.
With the way that the status quo changed, it was just a bummer. Because I was excited with Thorn and reevaluating the Green Lantern as a concept, and it felt like a sci-fi book without an identity. Like, it doesn't feel like Green Lantern. It just feels, at least the John stuff. The Joe stuff in the back does feel still very Green Lantern, what it's doing with the Guardians. But it feels like two separate things, and it's a bummer.
Yeah, Green Lantern kind of falls into almost, not quite Wonder Girl in the sense that I was that excited for it, but I was quite into the first couple of issues, and then it kind of, it started to feel more and more like a chore to read as the issues went on, and then there was just that one issue where I'm like, in November or maybe October it was, where I'm just like, I just don't want to read this right now, and I just didn't, and then once I was behind, it was like, well, I don't want to read 2 issues, definitely. So so it starts.
So surprises were for me were Wonder Woman, that like you could look at it as filler now, that they had to do something with Diana post Death Metal, and I was excited for her doing the whole Valkyrie Valhalla thing, but then now it just became a story about mythology and just jumping through, and it kind of lost its steam. I still really like that first arc of her with Siegfried, and so that me actually liking it, we're going like, oh hey, yeah, she's doing Viking stuff. Of course I'm gonna read it, to being like something I was looking forward to for a couple months. I thought that was a big surprise.
Yeah, okay. Connor, since you've returned to us, would you have any disappointments or surprises that you would like to?
I do. I've got, I guess, 2 disappointments. One, the first one, it's not a book that I was like incredibly excited for. It's just not like, oh, this was like a major letdown. But I was excited enough, and I assumed I would enjoy it. And then I really, really, really didn't like the first issue. That would be Task Force Z. Like it disappointed me in that I had, again, not crazy expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be the best book ever, but I thought it would be fun. I thought I would enjoy it. And then I just could not get on with it at all. So that was kind of disappointing for me.
Yeah.
And the other one, on a broader scheme, Tom King. And again, this isn't everything, because obviously Strange Adventures proves the Exorcist role and parts of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. But overall, I'm just enjoying less and less Tom King books, and I'm finding myself disappointed about that because, not so long ago, you tell me there's a 12-issue mini from Tom King coming. I get excited by that. That was good news, and now I kind of hear that and go, oh, okay, another one.
Yeah,
and I'm aware I'm in the minority on that, and that's fine. This is why it's a personal disappointment, not a collective one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I give my disappointments. I guess my surprise is probably just going back to that first Philip K. Johnson issue in Future State, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know the writer at all, and it blew me away with how good it was, how important it made Superman feel. It blew me away, and obviously, I maybe this is maybe more on a minor scale, but I wasn't necessarily excited because of the creative team. But Batgirl's pretty fun, so I'm happy that didn't suck. So
that's good.
I remember there was a point when that was announced that some of the wording in it definitely had you a little concerned.
Yes.
So I guess that would be fair to be a surprise.
It's a nice surprise. Yeah, it was like a jaw-dropping surprise or anything, but it was a surprise.
Yeah. Another surprise that I just thought about now was how much DC's embraced fun books like DC versus Vampires, right? Or like even Task Force Z, and just how different those books are that I don't feel in previous years we would have gotten stuff like that. Where
Task Force Z is a decent bit of fun. And
did you read the newest one yet, Pete?
No, I never did this week.
So if I was on the verge of that book where I was like, maybe I don't need to read it, this one definitely is like, oh no, this is must read now.
So you would say it's better than anything like Kieran Gillen's ever written, is what you're saying?
I wouldn't go that far because I do love Once in Future. So
he's just trying to get a rise out of me, and it's fine.
I know.
It's fine.
I do like Once in Future, but Gillen's I'm gonna go in here a little bit. His Young Adventures was not for me. Young Avengers.
Oh sure.
I read it because I read everything with Kate, barring this new mini, which I'll read when it's collected. And it just was not like, I get why some people like it. I get why people find it iconic. Just not for me.
Okay.
I much like Kelly Thompson's West Coast Avengers. That's more my speed than Gillen's
that's
Young Adventures.
more Cape focused.
Yeah, that might be it. But I'm not going to go in on Gillen like Pete wants me to. But however, Once in Future is a whole lot of fun, and I like what it does with storytelling, mythology, and
that's a very Matt book.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but like Task Force Z, if I was on, basically the fence about it, issue 3 or 4, whatever this one was, this week, definitely put me onto this is must read now because I gotta know what's going on. It almost feels like it's taken over that Suicide Squad vibe where it's this team book that might ascend to more than. But just the fact that we have something even like DC versus Zombie or DC versus Vampires in conjunction with kind of a zombie book at the same time, I feel like they would have made them come out at different times and not even on the same week. But here we are on the verge of 2022, and DC's like, nah, shoot, we might do a werewolf book next year. Why not?
Well, you're hoping they will anyway.
Are they going to get Ben Percy back?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I hear Gillen writes his scripts in crayon.
Okay,
why are you going so hard on poor Kieran Gillen?
What do you do to you? Writes them if they come out like this.
Cara loves them so much. It's just funny.
You can write them in cryptographs in the sun if they come out like this.
I gotta say, the last time I felt about a writer the way I feel about Tom Taylor was Jason Aaron when he was writing Thor. So Connery, I get it.
You know what? I was just speaking to someone the other day about how it's weird how no one talks about Jason Aaron right now.
Right. Well, I
don't mean to say that he's doing anything wrong. He's on some books. Yeah. But and one of them is goddamn Avengers. It's like and that's had like 50 odd issues of this, but no one's just talking about it. A few years ago when he was on Thor, you had Southern Bastards. He was the go-to name that people would like. When you fan cast a book, like what writer do you want? Jason Aaron was on every list, and now
he's cooled off for sure. But I feel like he's doing the exact books he wants to because. I was like, oh, another Conan book, and I looked, and he's writing that. So like, he's writing Conan. He's kind of in his own little corner doing what he wants. I get his newsletter. He's doing well. Fantasy booking, Bray Wyatt showing up somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a
You
case
know?
of he's doing solid work but not exceptional work, so
Mhm.
therefore there's just nothing exciting to talk
Yeah,
about
I
right
mean-
now.
Maybe it's just as if for 3 or 4 years he was
Yeah.
the hottest thing in comics,
Mhm.
right? You know, like everyone wanted him on every book, and now
Yeah.
it's not that his books are bad right now, because I don't think they are. Maybe they're
No.
not to the same exceptional level, but they're not bad.
Hey, DC's done a good job of pulling Chip over. Maybe Aaron just needs a change of
Oh.
scenery.
That's the coup. If I want things for 2022, I want Kelly Thompson and Chip Zdarsky like pulled over from Marvel, just like that.
Yeah.
Like I want the coup.
And can Chip finish his Daredevil run first, please?
Yes, he can finish
Um,
Daredevil, but then he's exclusively on DC books. Thank you very much.
Yes.
If they want to grab Al Ewing while they're doing it, I mean, I'm okay with that too.
See, I feel like Al Ewing he was the protege to Aaron. So Aaron's just watching his guy
The Rising
live it
Star.
up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember them doing books together, kind of like Snyder and Tynan used to, and now Ewing is that name. So, shit, I gotta finish Hulk at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Hulk and Swamp Thing have got a lot of parallels. You can once Ram V's done with Swamp Thing, give Al Ewing the next the next go round. Anyway, all right. So let's get on to the top 10 books of the year. This is the main event. This is where we're going to have to agree and organize. I'll sort them on a list that I've got handy here. Many of the things that I will lately put forth. I suspect that Future State as a whole just will get ignored because it's hard to kind of include any one of those books.
None of them are long enough to be in contention for best book, even if some of them were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I feel like with some of them, like we'll kind of, even if not officially, we kind of think of them as just like connected to other books because they were kind of lead-ins to other.
Probably think of those 2 issues of Swamp Thing as just part of Ram V's Swamp Thing.
So same with
I mean,
Johnson's...
they're in the same trade.
Yeah, same with Johnson's Action Comics. Same with even like Ram V's Catwoman issues. Like you know.
Joel Jones Wonder Girl.
Yeah.
Not that I don't suspect that'll make this list, but just for the purposes of fairness,
it's kind of a problem though when the Future State with Wonder Girl was the strongest thus far.
It was, yeah. That first Wonder Girl issue in Future State was the best one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah,
all downhill from there.
It's all been downhill. It's really sad, but it has
Walking
been all
Dead
downhill.
TV show syndrome.
Oh dear. Well, in the honor of Frank Darabont, I mean, do we suggest things?
I think I know what number 1 might be from all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to say Nightwing's number 1 just now and just put it on.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
All right, Nightwing's number 1. We all agree. There we go.
Oh, we're done here, yeah?
So
we gotta do.
Well, 9 to go.
Nightwing on every slot.
We can't do that
yet. Slot for each issue.
Oh dear. All right. So I mean, there's obvious things here. There's a couple of Tom King books. I think Strange Adventures and Rorschach. Both me and Matt are going to root highly for both. I think Connor's going to root highly for one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're both on the short list.
And here's the thing: I would put Rorschach over Strange Adventures, but the fact that Strange Adventures is the only one all 3 of us read, I feel like that has to go higher.
That's
despite
fair.
The fact that I like Rorschach more. So
I think that makes some sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously things will slot in around these, but like technically, then at this point we have Nightwing at number 1, Strange Adventures at number 2, and number 3 is Rorschach. That's where we are right now with what we've put forth.
All right.
All right.
So now we dealt with the King. Let's deal with the Ram V.
All right. So you want to throw in Catwoman and Swamp Thing into this list?
Catwoman and Swamp Thing. Where would we put those?
Well, I guess the first thing is which one of the which is the higher of the two.
That's what I mean.
Let's have for me, Catwoman, but you know,
Swamp Thing for me.
See, I'll go more with Catwoman, but they're close because I was down for Swamp Thing, right? But it was you two talking about how good Catwoman was that pulled me back to Catwoman, and then it ended up being like one of the first books I would read the week that it would come out, just because I had to know.
Okay, here's a question. All right, but it's more so for Matt, because obviously Connor would say it for one of them for sure. But would you want either of those Ram V books above either of the Tom King books, or would you think they should both go under those 2 Tom King books?
See, because it's weird because we already put Strange Adventures, and we already know that I like Rorschach more than Strange Adventures. So that's it already puts me at a weird spot. But the art in Catwoman, I would put as much as I like Perkins. I like Blanco's art for Catwoman more than. So I would probably put that. But I put Fornes as best art, so it's tough. So I would probably go Rorschach than Catwoman if I had my pick, and then probably Swamp Thing.
And Swamp Thing. Just because out of the ones we suggested so far, you would have
That's how I would go
Nightwing,
those.
Strange Adventures, Rorschach, Catwoman, Swamp Thing. I feel like Connor's about to jump in here and complain wildly about this. But
I feel like I'm not going to get above both of them above Rorschach, but I feel at least one of them should be.
If I had to compromise, I would put Catwoman over Rorschach, just because they are very similar in my brain over that.
This is a weird standstill we're at because Connor wants both of them over Rorschach. I think Rorschach should be over both of them. And out of the two that are there, I would want Swamp Thing over Catwoman. So we're in a bit of a weird pickle here where
we've become the Spider-Man cartoon meme.
I guess I'm willing to compromise to the extent of, even though I think Catwoman is the better book.
I
think you two both compromised by putting Strange Adventures above Rorschach.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to compromise to put Swamp Thing above Catwoman on the condition that goes above at least one of the Tom King books.
So you're saying Swamp Thing should go above Rorschach?
Yeah.
Okay, so Connor's proposition here would be that it would go Nightwing, Strange Adventures, Swamp Thing, Rorschach, Catwoman.
Yes.
I want Swamp Thing higher than Catwoman, so I can kind of get on board with that compromise. But I feel
that's fine. The fact that it took me 4 issues to get to Catwoman, I think that's fair.
Okay.
So I don't listen to you guys for 4 issues talking about how great it was and just fold my arms and go, no, it's the Ted Lasso of comic books. And everyone's telling me how great it is.
Even Matt's now watching that. It's so good.
Well, here's an objective. We were talking about it before you came on.
Fair enough.
But yes, here's an objective point to make, maybe to suggest why Swamp Thing is a more not complete, but a less interrupted package than Catwoman. As Catwoman has that weird start where like the first part of the run's in like part of issue 25 that's not all Ram V. And then you also have the Fear State tie-in issues, which are still Ram V and they're still important to the run, but they also still have to do some Fear State stuff.
Interrupted.
So
whereas
just if I'm putting points forth to whereas Swamp Thing is just it's just the Swamp Thing.
Also got Ram V Poison Ivy too. So like
all right, okay.
Queen Ivy.
All right. Actually, back to another Tom King book here, I think, because Supergirl needs to kind of, be mentioned here. Now, it can go at the bottom of this list as it is, but, like, I don't think you add it to the table right now to establish
I suspect it will get pushed off, but, I mean, sure, it can go at the bottom of this list for now.
Okay.
Well, you could really put it at 10, see what else comes up. You know?
Well, effectively, it's at 6, but technically, yes. It could become number 10, yes.
Because I that's not even my top Superman book, because I'd have to put Action Comics, over there.
Well, let's tackle Action next then. I mean, for me, Action... Like, I wouldn't put Action above, obviously, Nightwing or either of those two main King books. I'd probably put it under Swamp Thing as well and just have it snug in there, but I feel like Matt might debate that.
For me, Action's in my top 5. I would put it, so I couldn't.
Well, this would be in the top 5.
Right, then I'm fine. As long as it's 5, I'm fine. If it bumps Catwoman or Swamp Thing, it doesn't bother me.
It would bump Catwoman down to 6, with my suggestion.
I'm okay with that. Preserve Clark at all costs.
I mean, admittedly, more things might bump it down, but
kind of Future State 2 issues kind of in this
discussion.
Yeah,
it's just part of it. Yeah,
because they were like this weird prologue that was set in the future.
They're clearly part of the War saga, right?
Yeah.
We'll stick with Superman still then. Superman, son of Kal-El. Where do you think that?
For me, it's a good book, but it's probably the lowest on this list.
It's on the lower end, yeah. I would concur. Right, I mean, I think it's getting to places, but I would say it's probably.
We didn't bring up, so on all these other ones we brought up the artist, right? Maybe without action. We didn't bring up the artist at all on Son of Kal-El.
That's true.
So that's why I would have to put it as a whole. Like, it's good, but that annual might be my favorite issue.
Well, okay, I'll slot that in at number 8 just now, which is under Supergirl at the bottom, right? For now.
I think that's fair.
We can readjust.
That's
obviously
a compromise I could make. That in my super books that it would go Action, Woman of Tomorrow, Son of Kal-El. I think that's okay.
All right. Well, let's jump over to some Bat books then, because obviously these need to enter into the discussion. I think so just to look at Batman. Okay, I'm going to put forward all the Bat books that I considered in my head when I was thinking about this earlier. Right, so obviously you get Batman, you got Detective. You could maybe include Robin and Batman. I know it's only been 2 issues, but there's only 3 issues total, so it's the majority of it.
It's weird, but I feel like I really want to wait for the ending of that one.
Yeah, I know.
Even though I might 2 issues to 2 issues compared to some of the other Black Label books, I think that might be my favorite. But I kind of want to wait.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I think it's 4.
However, okay, well, that gets half. That said, though, the Imposter's finished, though, and I think the Imposter should at least be in the discussion.
I think that's probably my favorite of those 3.
That's tough. I would put it above Batman. I think for me it'd be Detective, then the Imposter, and then Batman. Just to rank those 3 in their own to begin with.
Yeah, but for me there's a big gap between Detective and then even the Imposter, just because it's a prestige full story. Like it's not jumping through the hoops.
Sure.
Tamaki was with Fear State, and
it's not, and that for me is why it ranks the highest. I think it's like just this. It's the purest story, right? In the sense, it's the same way how like a lot of the Tom King books just get to do their thing, tell their story. They're not interrupted by other stuff. That's the same with the Imposter. It's like no, it's just
that's fair. But like, I still haven't finished the Imposter, so I can't really speak out.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I break the tie, and I suppose then Detective should go above Imposter. Then,
yeah, I guess I'm out on that one.
Yeah. But we're all pretty passionate. Well, I mean, we're all fairly passionate about Detective.
Yeah, that's the Bat book set in Gotham. That's my top.
So this is where we start. Okay, so Detective being the top of those Bat books, where does that Detective slot into that list that we've already assembled? Keep in mind,
at least above Supergirl for me.
Okay.
I can't remember what was above that.
Above Supergirl is Catwoman, and then above that is Action. Then above that is Swamp Thing.
I'm fine putting Tech at 6.
Above Catwoman?
Yeah, I'm okay with that one.
I would put it above Catwoman. I would concur with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally maybe even put it a skosh above Action right now. Admittedly, I do think what Action's building to will be more special if it hits what it feels like it's going to hit. But I'm happy to settle with Detective just under Action above Catwoman. At number 6, I'm happy with that. So I would have the Imposter next. So under Detective right now you've got Catwoman, then Supergirl, and then Superman, Son of Kal-El.
I would trade Robin for Superman, Son of Kal-El, but that's just me. So I would put the Imposter over that one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'd put Imposter above Son of Kal-El.
Definitely.
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow isn't. I think I would right now. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, when it's finished, maybe I'll second guess it. But I think right now, with its 6 out of 8 issues, I would put Imposter above Supergirl.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happens every year with this. So it's slightly unfair comparisons that you're comparing
it
a
always
complete
is.
Story to something that's 3/4 done. But that's the nature of doing these lists when you do them.
There's got to be a cut off somewhere. Like you can't just wait, because by the time if we wait for these to finish, then something else will be halfway through. Just the way
exactly.
It is.
I would also put it above Supergirl.
Yeah, I figured you would. So I mean, no argument from you on that.
Yeah, but being that I still have like 20 pages to go on the Imposter, I really feel like I can't weigh in. That was the week that I missed.
Did you read half the issue?
Yeah, because when people are talking to you at work and you're trying to read, And then when this week's books comes out, I have to prioritize those.
Sure.
So that said, it goes down smooth. Like I feel like the Imposter taking breaks because it's such a large book. Like it feels like I'm at the point where it would have ended at an issue, right? So
yeah,
we talked about that earlier, where it really feels like 6 issues of something versus just 3. So
I mean, honestly, I think personally, I would probably even nudge it above Catwoman, but below Detective. But
I wouldn't. I would put it. Yeah, I would put Catwoman above the Imposter.
I'd put Catwoman above it as well.
Okay, well, yeah, you brought the tie then, Connor. That makes it simple.
There we go.
All right. The Imposter, I'll put above Supergirl, below Catwoman. There you go. Right, and we kind of agreed Robin and Batman shouldn't be factored in. Oh, I pressed the button that I shouldn't have done there. Oh no.
So read us back what we have right now.
Okay, so right now we got Nightwing, Strange Adventures. Oh, sorry, I forgot to move Swamp Thing up. That's my bad. Strange Adventures, then Swamp Thing, then Rorschach, then Action Comics, Detective Comics, Catwoman, The Imposter, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Superman, Son of Kal-El. But we've not slotted in Batman yet. So, and I do think Batman should probably go above Son of Kal-El, I'd say, for sure.
I really want to get Robin in on there. I really love that book.
I don't think Robin's making it bad. I'm sorry.
I don't think Robin is, but I don't think Son of Kal-El is. And honestly, I don't think Supergirl's staying on there either.
So I'd rather have any of those books than Batman. That's where I am.
I think Batman. I don't think it should go to. Yeah, I'd probably just put it above Son of Kal. I'd probably keep Supergirl or Woman of Tomorrow above Batman, actually. Which means it's probably not going to stay on, but
yeah, because
for the sake of like, yeah. So I'm going to put it above Son of, unless there's like major objections to that, but.
No.
I think the reason why you're not objected is just because you know it's going to get bumped off anyway in a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt wants to fight for Robin. I want to throw out Nice House on the Lake still.
Nice House on the Lake's the other one that I was going to.
I'd rather have Nice House on the Lake than Batman.
Well, Nice House on the Lake is much higher than that, though. I think.
I think that's in the 5 to 7 range at least.
Yeah, I think Nice House on the Lake is probably above Catwoman.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it's Detective up higher than that. Would I put it above Detective?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, maybe above Action as well, to be honest. So that would put it at number 5.
I would not, because again, I've made it.
Cara could break the tie then. Cara, would you put it above Action?
Would I put it above Action?
Remember, he's putting a voice track of you talking like a munchkin at the end of the episode.
Oh, in that case, God damn it, no, of course not. No, I'm actually going to say no anyway, though. Mainly because I love the 6 issues of Nice House.
Sure.
Definitely. I think Action benefits from having more issues. It's got those 3 future state issues, if we're counting in the House of L issue as well, which I think we kind of have to because House of L came back in the regular run as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the same story. So overall,
if we're including the House of L issue, then the Action should be like down at number 10 or something.
No. That's just disrespectful.
Yeah, I think between the 2 books for me, between Action and Detective.
Okay, so
I'm fine with going Action and then Nice House.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, it's Nightwing, Strange Adventures, Swamp Thing, Rorschach, Action Comics, Nice House on the Lake, Detective Comics, Catwoman, Batman the Imposter, and Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. That's the list as it stands.
If I'm not getting Robin, I'm okay with those.
Yeah, I have to be honest, Matt. I don't think Robin should make it on the list, but based on what's there.
Does Matt think Robin should knock off Supergirl last?
No, and that's what I'm saying. If I'm not going to get Robin, I'm okay with Supergirl being 10.
I don't think Robin should knock off Supergirl. I think Supergirl's better.
And I'm fine with Batman the Imposter being there.
Hey, you're lucky. You're lucky that One Dark Knight's only had 1 issue. Otherwise, we'd be fighting tooth and nail, right?
I don't think so because Connor didn't like it that much.
I think you'd have been outvoted pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yes, but there would still have to be if let's say, I mean, I'm not saying it was the best book of the year, right? But let's say
if you were putting it at number 1, then maybe we'd concede it at the number 10 spot.
True, because that's how these kind of books work.
But it would have to make it on, though. Is the point?
Man, I remember doing those old Mild Fuzz lists and putting Batman in at like 25 just to take away points.
I mean, is there any books that someone wants to nominate that they think should make it onto the 10 that's not there right now?
Out of the ones so far, the ones that I want represented are represented. The one that I'm still dodgy on because I haven't finished it is The Imposter, but everything else I agree with being on the top 10.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the
obviously,
only other one that I would put in my top 10 that you guys wouldn't is Robin.
Yeah.
Because I overvalue that book.
The only, I think we're all going to, none of us are going to have the perfect order, but I feel like that 10 is pretty...
The only other book I'd throw out as just a wild card that, I mean, you two can both just shoot this down, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But Arkham City.
I like Arkham City more than I like The Imposter, but...
I like it, but I wouldn't put it in the 10. I like Imposter and Supergirl more than I like Arkham City. Yeah. And then, by default, everything else.
I like Supergirl and Arkham City more than The Imposter, but that could change with the back half. It could nail the landing really well, I'm just saying. But Arkham City, the ending could completely unravel. That said, I don't think Dan Waters would. Right, because I feel like,
and that's another case as well. Where you're only halfway through that story versus, these other books that are finished.
It's crazy in the best way, right? Like we got Solomon Grundy in the last one,
and I know Nice and the Lake's only halfway, but that's half of 12 instead of half of 6, which is a difference.
But that does feel like the end of a chapter that we got to.
Yeah.
Fair warning: next year I will be fighting for Dark Knights of Steel.
Morgan Freeman gif. Good luck.
I
have Matt on my side.
I need more than some of these other books, sure.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what's coming when Tom Taylor's JSA is out next year. We'll see what.
Oh, you think I'm not going to have Tom Taylor's JSA pretty high on my list?
I'm willing it into existence. Is there anything else to nominate? Is anyone throwing something out that they think?
All my favorite books when they come out, what I read first, but we've all mentioned them, so I don't have any off the top of my head. We've talked the Taylor books, we've talked the King books, we've done the Ram V books. I talked Williamson, Philip Kennedy Johnson's there.
Mm-hmm.
All the artists that I brought up are all represented. I think I really don't have any surprises, up my sleeve on this one.
No, I'm just scanning that list of all the things that started this year again, and nothing is sticking out. That's had enough issues to, be considered. Like, this time next year when we're talking about this again, like I'm sure Human Target is going to be something me and Matt are arguing for. I'm sure. I feel
like how Connor feels about Dark Knight of Steel is how I feel about Human Target.
But it's going to be up there next year, assuming it continues on its current trajectory.
Yes. Exactly. But also,
it's not there for this discussion right now.
Right, and Dark Knights of Steel could be that those two could be 1 and 2 for next year, for all I know.
I mean,
is Taylor still on Nightwing all year?
Yeah. I mean, Taylor could just sweep it with all of his books next time.
Well, I think it's funny though if you look at our top 10. Between the two Toms, right? Like Tom Taylor and Tom King account for Nightwing, Strange Adventures, Rorschach, and Supergirl. So that's 4 out of 10.
Yeah,
that's a hefty chunk.
3 of those are Tom King though, and I think it's because with Tom Taylor's books, obviously, Son of Kal-El is like, I mean, it's a good book.
I mean, it's just been bumped off though. It's like almost there.
It is, but then there's the end of Disease, which only really had 1 issue, so we can't really count that. At the start of Dark Knight of Steel, so we can't really count that.
Right.
But it's like both like those 2 other books that he's had as high-profile books.
Right. Whereas King got to finish 2 books.
He got to finish 2 amazing books this year, so he's got and then most of Supergirl, of course, as well. So he's got a lot of like ammunition for this.
Yeah. I mean, if we were including those 2 issues of Human Target, I would that might push him over Tom Taylor, but Nightwing's that good. I don't think it could unseat that. So. Yeah, I don't have any other books I can think of. Well, definitely not Justice League, I'll tell you that much.
In that case, and Connor, you're sure Harley Quinn's not a contender for this?
It can go on the list of things I would rather not read.
So in that case, the final list after the debating is done. Number 10 is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Number 9 is Batman the Imposter. Number 8 is Catwoman. Number 7 is Detective Comics. Number 6 is Nice House on the Lake. Number 5 is Action Comics. Number 4 is Rorschach. Number 3 is Swamp Thing. Number 2 is Strange Adventures. And number 1 is Nightwing. And I think for me, like the exact 10 books that I think should be there are there. I would slightly jiggle the order a touch, but not by much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where I am.
Obviously, for me, there's a handful of books that I wouldn't have on there. I think, though, ultimately, none of us are really happy, other than the fact that Nightwing's at 1, which was the one thing that we were all like, yeah, obviously.
I mean, I'm yeah.
I think me and Matt are pretty happy.
I'm okay. Again,
right?
I would probably drop the Imposter, bump up Supergirl, throw in
Robin
Robin
on there. Yeah.
or Son of Kal-El in another spot and get all the Tom Taylor books in, right?
Yeah,
but I'm okay with
on my list.
Right. Yeah. So I'm okay. And if we're picking just Tynan books, I'm fine with Nice House over Batman. But that's because Batman was kind of a mixed bag. There were some that are better than others. So
I think we all agree that Nice House is better than Batman.
Yeah.
For the year.
Which is why
it's a weird list for me in that I think I'm the only one of us who overall preferred Batman over Detective.
Probably because you're weird.
But I was pretty consistent in that throughout the year. Whenever this came up. So, Detective being at around, what was that, 7?
Yeah.
6, 7, something like that.
7. 7's Detective.
7. But then being no Batman is one of those things where for me that's a weird choice, but that's these lists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the fun of like having it be a shared list that we have to debate on is getting to this sort of result. Yeah. So there's our official Comics from the Multiverse top 10 of 2021.
Just having had Action in at 5, so I'm okay.
That's a respectable place. Yes. It was almost number 6 if Connor went a certain other way with one of his decisions.
Hey, but that's because I agreed on Rorschach, right? And we were able to get that handled. So
yeah, one thing that I think I did last year that I just forgot about this year was to put out like a form for like the audience to like vote on things. I'm still going to do it though because it's such a good idea. What I'll do is I'll make sure the link for the form is in the description for this episode, and it'll be in the next couple of regular episodes as well. I'll pick whatever the deadline is when I'm setting up, but and I'll just announce the results of the votes on whatever quiet episode we have towards the end of January.
Yeah.
So
y'all rep Robin hard for me, all right?
So there'll be like a top 10 formed out of points based on what they put in as their top 10s. And they can vote on best writer, artist, and and see how it goes. So yeah, just a bit of a bonus bit here at the end then, because it's always worth just saying, hey, what about other places? Since we talk about DC all the time, is there anything else we want to say? Like I said, I've not really been reading other things this year. I just this week started, so hey, Kelly Thompson's Black Widow, pretty good, but that's all I got for you. So
it's a very good book. I will second that.
Yes.
Earlier in the year, I was getting caught up on both Captain America and Aaron's Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron's Avengers started to lose me when we got to this whole Khonshu, Moon Knight.
That's about where I fell off. I fell off just after that.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, this is going weird places. I got to make sacrifices somewhere, So I also got to catch up on Immortal Hulk because I was enjoying that one. I just fell behind. But Coates' Captain America was pretty good. I think I finished that. He did 25 issues?
29, I think.
29, yeah. I feel like I read all of them.
Yeah, that ended a few months ago.
Okay. Then if it ended a few months ago, I did not, because I hadn't touched Cap since maybe 25 then.
Yeah, I did got a few issues.
I mean, I actually I love Cap and I love Daredevil, but I haven't read those this year. Like the last issues of those I read were definitely probably mid to early 2020.
Up to date in terms of up to date being Marvel Unlimited up to date.
Right.
So it's like 3 months behind on both of those. Obviously, Cap is finished. I think it never quite regained the heights of its first couple of arcs where it had phenomenal art. I don't think it ever quite got back to that level, but it was always good. Daredevil is one of
Yeah.
Marvel's best books.
I'm
Hands down.
excited to start that now.
The
Given what happened in the MCU the last couple weeks, I'm excited to have Matt Murdock back in my life.
Yeah,
So-
just in Marvel books, the ones I've been enjoying, obviously Daredevil, the Beta Ray Bill 5-issue mini by Daniel Warren Johnson, who did Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
Can I just say, Beta Ray Bill is a complete prick in Marvel Puzzle Quest. I just wanted to say that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's a
not worthy, huh?
He's a 5-star character, and he's just a pain to fight against. It's not fun. Just
The original wielder of Stormbreaker.
same with that bitch Polaris as well. All her powers are really annoying to deal
Yeah,
with.
fake Magneto daughter.
Yeah, that's a surprisingly fun book. So you mentioned Black Widow. What are the other good ones I've been reading from them? Thor. Donny Cates' Thor has been very good.
I got behind in issue 5 and I never caught up. So
Yeah, I'd say go back to it.
Yeah, I will.
A surprise book that I've enjoyed more than I expected to, barring like one issue that I wasn't super keen on, is Iron Man. I think Christopher Cantwell is the writer.
Okay.
It's shockingly good. It's basically it's not just an Iron Man book. It's Iron Man and Patsy Walker essentially.
Hellcat, huh?
Yeah, it never told me that, but like she has essentially been the co-lead for 80% of the book.
What's her role in it? What are they?
Kind of a pseudo relationship with Tony. Like they've obviously got history, and it's kind of playing on a lot of that. And you know, there's things with Tony's addiction problems that and she's like helping with those, and it's pretty good. It's worth checking out. Again, is not what I expected from the current Iron Man book, but
okay,
it's good.
Any independents that are new that you were reading?
Yeah, it didn't actually start.
Trent Krim, The Independent.
Very good. It didn't start this year, but I read it this year, and most of it has come out this year, and that would be Something is Killing the Children.
I gotta,
which is obviously the tiny book.
I have a fun relationship with the guy that works at my shop, not the owner, but the guy that works there. I will not pick up books he recommends just out of spite, and he's been trying to get me to get Something's Killing the Children. And I threatened that I was going to pick up Homesick Pilots based off of what you and James.
I just caught up with that.
And he goes, if you get Homesick Pilots before Something's Killing the Children, I will not pull your books anymore.
Okay, I really enjoyed Homesick Pilots.
Yes.
The 10 or 11 issues that are out so far.
Yes.
Something Killing the Children is better, and you would enjoy it more.
So
it is.
But Connor, you understand that if I pick it up, he wins.
I know, but it's a horror take on like a modern Buffy. It is one of the 4 books that I can think of playing with the Tulpa idea. Yeah.
You're gonna make me go this weekend, aren't you?
And John, I'm just going to list the other. Obviously, the Swamp Thing. Something's Killing the Children is one of that, and its associated spin-off House of Slaw. I'm just kind of including that in there.
Right.
Another Tynan book, because Tynan really likes this idea apparently. Department of Truth.
Yeah, that's the other one that I really want to read.
Yeah, which does it through a conspiracy theory lens. Very good.
Right.
And
I know issue 9
on some future.
He gets to Bigfoot, and so I have to get through the other ones.
There's Bigfoot stuff. There's some other monsters. There's it deals with satanic panic. There's
it looks like I'm spending some money at the shop this weekend. So thanks, Connor.
I'd apologize, but
yeah, I know.
You should be reading these books. And yeah, the 4th.
I just remember telling him that I was going to go look at Homesick Pilots based off of you and James. And he goes, if you get that before Something's Killing the Children, I will stop pulling your books.
One last book that may actually swing into that idea, although I'm not sure yet because it's a 5-issue mini. I've only read 3 issues so far. 4th one just came out this last week. And that is May's book by Jeff Lemire. And it's Lemire doing writing and art.
Okay.
So it's one of those Lemire books.
It's not May's,
Right.
It's mine.
What?
Matt, you were eating a Terry's chocolate orange before we started the show.
Okay.
Okay, I guess the ad campaign.
No.
So
So the The first time I ever had a Terry's was a Terry's bar at Epcot when I messaged Pete back in 2013.
The bars are more common. Like they're like obviously the oranges are the fun ones because they're actually shit like
I had
orange.
never had one till then. I sent Pete a pic. We weren't even recording a show yet, right? He's just my friend that lives, overseas, and so I sent him a picture of all these sweets at Epcot in the UK Pavilion. He tells me what to get. Fast forward 10 years later, my local grocery store starts selling the actual Terry's orange, right? So I am like, this was great. I start picking it up. Never seen an ad for them.
No.
Right?
So the advert campaign, just to explain my joke there for you, Matt, is that there was an actress called Dawn French. She used to do all the ads, and it's called Terry's Chocolate Orange, and she'd always end the ad by saying, "It's not Terry's, it's mine," and then take a bite. Like,
now that I know that, that's funny.
Yeah, I was cracking a nice Terry's Chocolate Orange joke.
There you go.
They're
delicious, guys. If you've never had them, track them down. Quite delicious. Even the dark chocolate one. Good. Yeah.
The chocolate, orange flavored chocolate is like amazing.
It shouldn't work, but it does.
It's just delightful stuff. I can't recommend it more. Especially in the US when you have like horrible Hershey's bars and stuff like.
Yeah. Y'all's chocolate really ruined that for me. So like, it's hard to enjoy a s'mores when that's the easiest chocolate to get is the Hershey's, and it just doesn't taste as good. Even the Cadbury's different as we've talked is, you need
to try some Galaxy chocolate, Matt, at some point.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have?
Galaxy's good. Yeah. We found when we were in Ventura, there was a British shop. They had a Galaxy bar. We got the honeycomb one, which is like a Butterfinger, but not. No, what was the name of it? It's just chocolate covered honeycomb, basically.
A dime bar? Maybe? No.
I don't remember the name of it. But maybe it was a crunchy. I don't remember. I'd have to look at the.
Yeah, but a Butterfinger's not honeycomb though. A Butterfinger's like.
No, but it's the same consistency. It got stuck in my teeth like a Butterfinger.
Oh, that's a crunchy. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a gold wrapper?
No, it was a purple wrapper. I'll have to find it.
A picnic?
No.
A picnic's nuts and raisins, isn't it?
Aye, but it's still a bit chewy. I'm just.
Yeah. Whatever it was that and the Galaxy bar we got, and both were very, very good. So I steered my friend away from the Arrow by one. I forget which of you told me it felt like
Arrow's a decent.
Yeah, it wasn't mint, but it was you're paying for air. I forget which one of you told me.
It's just bubbles. Yes.
It's just bubbles, yeah.
And for air.
That's really disappointing. The regular one. The mint one's pretty good.
I would, honestly, like the last thing I would tell you have to track down, Matt, at some point is a Kinder Bueno.
Yeah.
It's a must have. Must have.
This one.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of hazelnut as a flavor, you have to.
Yeah. Well, so my wife's favorite treat of all time is a Ferrero Rocher, which is hazelnut, which
very nice.
I never really liked until this year. Something clicked.
Talking about dark chocolate versions being great, the dark chocolate Ferrero Rocher is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I'll just swing it back around to comics just to finish off with one last recommendation.
There you go.
One final one. Just for the record, May's book, before P interrupted me, it's Lemire doing what Lemire does. It's the kind of sad, otherworldly kind of, it's a guy who's lost a kid and can't move on, and the city is a maze, and maybe she's alive still somewhere at the middle of the maze. But yeah,
sounds terrifying and would do absolutely nothing for my anxiety.
It's really good though. But it's a Lemire book. If you like those Lemire drawn books as well, you'll enjoy this one.
It sounds like a spiritual successor to Underwater Welder.
In a lot of ways, yeah. If you like that, you'll like this.
But by the way, Connor, it was a crunchy. It was the purple 4-pack, which is why it was purple and not gold.
Purple?
So
I don't think I've ever seen a purple.
I don't think I've ever seen a purple wrapper for it. No.
I will. Let me find a way to send this to you guys. And
but yeah, I knew it was a crunchy. But the only other book I'm going to recommend is Tilly Walden's On a Sunbeam. Sorry, doorbell just rang out. It threw me off. Who the hell's ringing the doorbell this time of night?
I'll jump in here and say I'm not a big fan of a crunchy. I think a Butterfinger's way better than a crunchy, but
I've never had a Butterfinger.
They're both good. It was a nice novelty because it's not like I can find it everywhere. Butterfinger I can just pull off the,
That's the opposite here. You have to track down a Butterfinger.
Yeah. Crunchies I used to have a lot. Like when I was young, they were one of my go-tos. So no, they're good. But comics, Tilly Walden's on a Sunbeam. It is honestly the single best thing I've read this year, like by far. Like it's not even close of how good that book. That is shot to possibly like it's fighting with Underwater Welder for my all-time favorite comic. Like that's how good that book is.
All right. I'm sorry, all I can think in my head is Matt tried a Curly Whirly, and he should try a Curly Whirly if he hasn't.
What's a Curly Whirly? I think I have.
Well, it depends. Do you mean a little Curly Whirly or a foot-long Curly Whirly?
Oh, a proper Curly Whirly, like a foot-long one.
Yeah. The only real size for a Curly Whirly.
I mean, honestly, I don't like them that much because they're so tough and chewy that like I'm like, it's just a pain to eat.
They are annoying, yeah.
It's just not fun.
It's you feel good when you get through it because you beat it. It's the novelty, the challenge.
Yeah. Oh, Matt said it is evidence, photographic evidence.
Yeah, the purple 4-pack crunchy bar.
Huh.
I'm investigating. Okay, all right. So yeah, usually the wrappers are just the gold color all the way through, but the 4-pack's got like a border.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So is the Curly Whirly, is that caramel?
Yeah, it's like a really hard toffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very hard, very chewy.
That was, I think, one of the ones Pete recommended.
No, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I just love recommending Americans Curly Whirly because you say Curly Whirly at them and they look at you like they've just heard something erotic.
And then obviously our Mars bars are different to their Mars bars, right?
Well, our Mars bars are their Milky Ways, I believe.
Yeah.
And our Milky Ways is something I don't think they have.
Yeah.
Probably.
I could be wrong.
Can you just say, have you ever had the Curly Whirly Squirrelies?
The Curly Whirly Squirrelies?
Ah, dang it. I used to have a hard time saying squirrel. So I'd make him say Squirrel Girl a lot.
Squirrel Girl.
Yeah. Now he's good at it.
No, he's not. It's because it's just because Squirrely already plays into the problem he has with Squirrel.
I'm in the rhythm. I'm in the rhythm when I'm saying that.
So anyway, British candy is better. It just is. I mean, outside of Snickers, I'm a sucker for Snickers.
I love a Snickers as well.
I much rather have many of these other ones we've talked about.
I mean, Snickers are in both places anyway. You don't have to pick between like Snickers are just coming here.
They're a universal.
Yeah, but to me, right? But like the difference between the British candy and I'll pick up a Cadbury bar over most other American bars every time
because it's better than most.
It is.
Yeah. And if you want to be posh, get some nice Lindor chocolate, which is
I have some from a gift from a coworker.
You get those, or you get Thorntons, right? That's the fancy ones for this time of year.
The Lindor one, because it's the balls with a soft center. It's like it's heaven, and do you know what I saw?
Flavors.
I think it's Sainsbury's. Yeah, because the different flavors are nice too. Because the dark chocolate ones are nice. Then there's like the hazelnut ones are nice. So I think it's Sainsbury's that are doing Lindor pick and mix at certain stores.
You pick which ones you want.
Yeah,
the bundle.
Yeah, and just get it weighed and
in the city centre where I live, we have a Lindor shop. That's just a permanent, open all year round shop.
That's dangerous.
with
a pick and mix there that you can just go in and anytime.
That's just dangerous. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have any here because.
They're very good. You might be able to get because they do pre-package them in little boxes that you can probably get on your British site that you've got there, Matt.
Yeah. We do, but it's in California. We have a Lynch store. That has what you just called a pick and mix.
I just had a look on your site that you sent there, Matt, to show us those crunchies. You can get the regular ones. You can get a couple of the bars as well, but the bars are fine. I wouldn't bother. But
wait, do Americans not have a word for pick and mix? What do you call a pick and mix?
I don't know. It's like I guess we just say buy in bulk because you just go and you can pick.
I mean, because obviously this is Lindor specifically, but normally it's just like the sort of generic kids sweets that you get, and they're just in like the tubs, and you just kind of scoop them into your bag. Which one you want?
A cup.
Or a cup, yeah.
And then you got the two pricing. There's by weight, which means you've got to be okay, whatever.
You got to be careful.
Got by cup, and you've got how much can I physically squish into this cup before it will overflow, and that they will let me out of the store with. Yeah,
the cup's the better option because you're constantly worried. It's the difference between dial-up internet where you're paying by the minute versus broadband where you're just paying a monthly fee.
A bulk.
Yeah. So if you get a cup, you Tetris You Tetris
Yes.
your sweets into the cup. Like, I am maximizing this space.
Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed this descending into chocolate and candy at the end.
I tried to bring it to comics, and somehow we got straight back.
Well, because it was just you listing off random books.
Well, maybe if you two read other stuff.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm making an effort right now. It's a thing, and maybe when I'm caught up in a bunch of books, I'll record a thing or two. I don't know. I'm not promising anything, but patrons, you've been warned. But yes, there you go. That's the aisle. That's a good. Hey, overall, 2021 pretty good for DC, I'd say. At least creatively, and like as much as I enjoyed books pretty much every week. I'm actually looking back at Future State now, like in hindsight, I'm like, it was actually kind of fun at the time, but it does feel like kind of like this weird, just inconsequential thing now, looking back at it.
In some ways, yes, but then you've got some books that spun directly out of it, like Wonder Girl. But also, you have that set the direction for action. Like what we're doing now is still building towards what that Future State said. All of the entire year of Batman.
But it was a lane-wide thing where all the regulars, and I look at what came right after it. Taylor's Nightwing started right after it. As soon as Future State was done, it was Nightwing time. So
yeah. I'm not saying it was perfect, but I think compared to, let's say, I don't know, Convergence.
We don't say that.
I was going to go with like Villains Month or...
No, I was thinking specifically, here's a 2 month.
I feel like there's a common thread in all of those, and then when that common thread is removed, things get better.
Daddy-o!
Yeah.
Daddy-o! Yeah.
Sure, he's a nice guy, but it's been better without him. Hey, also, you know what I'm excited for in 2022?
Okay, go on.
Mark Waid back at DC.
Mark Waid's doing a DC, an ongoing as well.
Yep, an ongoing Superman, Batman, Superman, whatever we're titling it.
I mean, it's World's Finest. I mean, it's Superman, Batman, World's Finest. So.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
World's Finest.
It's World's Finest. Hot damn. But yeah. Feel like you remove an issue and Waid can come back now. I'm excited to read Waid stuff. It's been a minute.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get graced with some Gary Frank art again this year. That'd be nice.
I mean, we mentioned earlier that Johns didn't really do anything at DC is because he's been doing a creator-owned book over at Image with
Tiger.
With Gary Frank, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but hopefully, they can swing back.
I read Johns for his superheroes, and just give me the All-Star Squadron. That's not what I meant to say. 7 Soldiers of Victory that he was teasing. And I'll be good.
Well, maybe in about a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I hit my head, I can become Sir Justin at work. I'm just saying.
So, I also look forward to Bendis exclusively taking over Booster Gold this year.
You say that as a threat, and it was probably better. It would probably be better than anything he did in Justice League.
And also, we've only just got a Booster Gold book for the first time in like 5 years anyway. So I'd be going back to not having one.
Yeah, but like with Booster Gold, none of the stuff matters, right? Because he's undoing things, or he's making sure things do happen. So under Bendis, I can see him having fun with it because it's contained.
It's nonsense anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Timey-wimey.
Though, if he was doing it, it would be a book of making sure that Naomi's origin happens the way it's supposed to.
Oh man, Booster's the reason why Naomi's parents were able to send her. I'm sure.
And then Sinmar would be a main character for the back half of the book.
With the guy that destroyed Krypton, who I can't remember right now.
Rogolzar and Sinmar. It'd be them teaming up and like chasing. It'd be like how in the Joker book, Joker's not really there. He's just kind of like the presence, right? It would be Sinmar and Rogolzar on a road trip trying to find Booster Gold. And you'd see him at the end of the book maybe, but not for like 10 issues.
Oh my god, that's the most Booster book though, isn't it? That's all right. Booster's on the cover of Human Target, so Pete's laughing now, but he's gonna have to read Booster Gold sooner than later.
I don't mind Booster Gold. I'm just putting some worst nightmares in your head. And
also, Guy Gardner soon to show up in Human Target. So
he's the killer. He's definitely the killer. I'm just going to put it out there right now.
You know what? I hope so, because it's a very Guy Gardner thing to do to try to kill Lex Luthor. All right, he's a hero.
He's he's the proud suspect. He's shifty. I don't trust him.
He's a hothead. He has a bad haircut. Wait, are we talking about me? No, I have a good haircut. We're good.
I mean, your haircut's irrelevant. The problem with you is that you always wear a hat, so whenever you take the hat off, your hair is like scary because it's just it's molded into a shape.
It was real cold here yesterday, which by your standards is not anything. But I wore a beanie all day. Yeah, I wore a beanie all day, and when I took that off,
Matt, what was cold for you?
When I woke up, it was 30 degrees. Which again, for you guys,
that'll be zero. I'll be under zero. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like one. Yeah, it's like -1. That's cold.
That's cold. Yeah, that's still cold.
Yeah.
It's not like the worst, but it's cold.
No, for me it is. All right. Today it is 55. So plug that into your thing. That's like how much the 13. Temperature shifted in 24 hours.
55 sounds comfortable to me. I'd be happy.
It's fine.
That's like an ideal temperature.
Yeah, I was able to not wear my hoodie out of the gym today because it was fine this morning.
Context, anything between for me about 55 and let's say 65. That's the ideal sweet point. That's the temperature.
And let's make it clear: when we say this, we're not saying it should be that in the room we're sitting in. We're saying that that's what the temperature will be outside. Just in case, because I know a lot of people have like air conditioning settings where they actually set the temperature for indoors and stuff, and that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. We're saying the temperature is outside, and this has been off the rails. This has been your annual episode, everyone. Yes. So thank you for joining us.
Let me just say, anything below 70 for me is cold, but I'm a desert rat. What do you want? You know,
this has been annual.
70 is 21 degrees, Pete.
It's a bit on the warm side.
That's pushing it already. I burn in that weather.
Yeah. So. Yes, this has been annual number 6. Look out for the submission list, the form to fill out your own top 10 stuff. And
if anyone's still listening to this now.
Well, I'm going to mention it on the main episodes as well, so they'll definitely hear it. But yes, anyone who's stuck around all the nonsense talk at the end of this, we salute you. And congratulations to David, who doesn't have to cut this one up, because there's nothing to cut up into. So,
I mean, he's still got the regular episode this week. It's not like he had a week off.
No, but I mean, like, all the tangent at the end, he doesn't have to deal with it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. It'd be easy. It's all at the end anyway.
Yeah, it's just one super tangent.
Yeah. Like if we... Because I suppose in theory you could cut... Pardon me. You could cut out the writer section and then the artist section, but... Got it. Right, great. For the audio listeners, there was a hair in my mouth, and I was trying my best to get it without stopping.
So you can cut out this. This guy.
So yes, but thank you for supporting the show throughout 2021. Here's to 2022. I suppose I'll take this time. I'll do my usual outro stuff. It is still an episode after all, so thank you to our Patreon producers for the month of Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Boardnow, Christopher Moy, and David Brown. You can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble. Of course, you can support us for free by simply hitting the like button, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications on YouTube, or give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or whatever audio platform you get your podcast on. All that stuff does help. All of it helps the algorithms and spreads us to more people. But of course, just share us out. You can get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. So if you want to tag us in things, if you want to share the good word, as it were, you can do that on there. But that is us. That has been annual number 6. Hopefully you've enjoyed the deliberations, and we'll look forward to seeing your own submissions in the forum. So thank you very much. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
I'm trying to download driver updates. I'm wondering if that's causing something.
For sure.
Right, I've just got to restart the computer. Why would you not fucking download?